Hello everyone and welcome back to Asian Nagash channel dedicated to Age Sigmar, and I'm happy to say that this is going to be the Slaves of Darkness part 2 of their army series, and we will be reviewing the units of the army. So that means that I won't really be looking at things like heroes and monsters, but it'll be your more standard sized units, from anything from the Warcry warbands to things like Chaos Warriors, Chaos Knights, etc. And I'm even more happy to say that joining me in this video we have again Jamie. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm very well, thanks, mate. And yourself?
Very well, very well. Okay, so what we're going to do is look at essentially the weakest units and make our way up. Because that's something I tend to do when I do my unit reviews, because it just means you save like the cooler stuff for a bit later. And because when I do my army reviews, like the Beasts of Chaos have got many races within their army, so it's lovely. One video it's Bray Herd, the next one it's War Herd, another one it's Dragon Ogres. Because the Slaves of Darkness, this is something me and Jamie were talking about a bit before the video, they're all kind of a bit clumped together, which not in a bad thing, but in terms of trying to break it down to review. What we'll do is, like I say, units in this video, and then we'll do a monsters and a hero one. It's probably going to be the best way to break it down. That sounds pretty good to you, Jamie?
Yeah. With all them coming together and obviously GW releasing new stuff for them, they have quite a large collection.
Yeah, there's. I think I'm not going to say like the most war scrolls, but certainly for Chaos, they've got a good run for their money as being the one with the most war scrolls, with the old and new. So anyway, with all the pre-ramble aside, like I said, we're going to start with some of the Warcry stuff, and we're going to look at the Untamed Beasts. So as you can see on your screen, if you're watching this, what I'm going to do, I've got the Games Workshop website up, and I've gone onto their war scrolls on that, so hopefully you can read along if you'd like to, but don't worry if you can't, because we will be reading them out. So, the Untamed Beasts. Firstly, just going over a little bit of lore for them. It says, by devouring the flesh of Gur's many predators, the Untamed Beasts seek to gain their strength and power. These shamanistic savages worship chaos as the devourer of existence and are peerless trackers and hunters. Okay, so now we know a bit about them. How many points are they going to cost us, Jamie?
Cheap 70 points.
70 points for 9 models?
Yep, you get 9.
That's not too bad at all. Okay, so firstly, we'll have a look at the wheel stats. Then we're going to read the description, and then we'll go into weapons and then abilities. So, they move 6 inches. They have a 6-up save, bravery 5, and 1 wound. Probably the best thing there is the 6-inch movement, but like we said, they're pretty cheap, so we don't have to worry about that. Going on to the description, a unit of Untamed Beasts has any number of models, each armed with hunting weapons. So then we go on to the weapons themselves, and we have the missile weapon, which is the Jagged Harpoon, which for an 8-inch range, 1 attack, force to hit, freeze wound, no rend, and 2 damage. Pretty cool. And then the melee weapons, we have the hunting weapons. This is a 1-inch range, 1 attack, force to hit, force a wound, no rend, and 1 damage. And I believe we have a few special weapon carriers, if you like, in this unit, as something we'll see quite a bit with the Cultists Warcry units. Do you want to take us through the Heart Eater, Jamie?
But 1 in every 9 models unit must be a Heart Eater. Add 1 to attack characteristics of the Heart Eater's melee weapons. So it can't be the guy with the Jagged Harpoon.
Yeah. Because that would be like the easy, obvious go-to, wouldn't it? Like if you can just make the 1-2 damage weapon.
So, but also I'm reading the Jagged Harpoon as -1 rend here.
What did I say?
No rend.
Oh, sorry, -1 rend for the Jagged Harpoon. You're right, and the hunting weapons have got no rend.
Going through the Jagged Harpoon, one in every 9 models in the unit can be a First Fang, and First Fang is armed with a Jagged Harpoon in addition to their other weapon.
Okay,
So
so
you get
one weapon.
one guy. You get one guy in the 9 to have a Jagged Harpoon. A little bit of range damage.
It's always good, especially in an army that range.
That's barely any.
Yeah, unless you're really. It's not even if you're really going for it. It's just if you've got like Marauder, Horsemen, and a few other examples. Most of your shooting in this army will be just the few units who have like the odd thrown weapon. If I'm thinking like the Cyclops that can beastie from Warcry as well, he's got a he can throw a boulder as well, I think, and the Minotaur guy can throw his spear. Maybe there's like a few kind of it's a little bit like Death, where like a zombie dragon can shoot with its pestilent breath and stuff. Stays Darkness, like I say, you can do Marauder Horseman, but shooting's not abundant, so any little bit is useful. And then we've got the Rock Tusk Prowler. So one in every 9 models in this unit must be a Rock Tusk Prowler. Rock Tusk Prowlers have a wounds characteristic of 2. So if you're wondering what that is, that's essentially the lion you get with the Untamed Beasts. Which
brilliant model.
Yeah, it's he's good enough to buy the whole warband for, in my honest opinion. So what we can see here when we're reading all the special weapons and stuff, essentially, when you buy a box of these guys, I believe now, if you buy them for Age of Sigmar, you get 18 models, you get twice as many. For like double the price, basically. So for every 9 models you build, it's not like you can customize them as such. They will just be kind of like
it's that
easy
9
build
from the warband, isn't it?
Yeah. Because I say you built these.
You get to their main ability here, and this is what makes them really good for their points.
Yes.
Because everything with their stats is all very, 70-point kind of unit. 4s, 1 damage. You got that. The shooting attack's good, but it's only 1 attack and from 1 person. But then you get this ability. This unit can run and still charge late in the same turn. In addition, after armies are set up, but before the first battle round begins, this unit can move 6 inches. Up to 6 inches, if you decide to move it less. Unleash the beast.
Yeah, that is the reason why people would take this unit. Just that extra movement is just that gameplay element. I'll be able to get there a bit.
And running and still charging is always good for them to bog a unit down, move quicker across the table, get to a back objective. Just try it, because they can probably go hand in hand with most battle line units in a like minimum size battle units. That's in all the warbands.
Like if we looked at like this, like 9 of these guys against 10 ghouls or something.
Yeah,
they can stand up to that probably. Yeah, that is good. It's something we looked at as well. I believe when we read the spoilers, apologies if it was another sub-allegiance, but there was one, wasn't there, where D3 units can move 5 inches, wasn't it? 5 or 6 inches?
Yeah,
before the game begin.
Which can make them straight away on an objective.
Yeah.
In the middle of the table.
Which is good. Something we'll... Like, I think with the warbands, it's a little bit. Some people hit and miss on. Are they good enough to take? Are they not? I would say that some of them are definitely good enough to take. I'm just got to play them well. They're not going to be beat sticks, but they're there for their tactical purposes, and they all have a nice tactic. I would say that these Warcry warbands definitely do a lot better when they're transferred into Age of Sigmar compared to the most, I'm not going to say all, but most of the Warhammer Underworld warbands, where on average they don't really bring much. So yeah, and that's what the Untamed Beasts bring. That extra movement is generally very useful.
Yeah, definitely.
And then for their keywords, they've got Chaos, Mortal, Slaves of Darkness, Cultists, and Untamed Beasts. So obviously, Slaves of Darkness is important, obviously Mortal and stuff, but really that ties into them is going to be the Cultist keyword probably, as we'll see in a few War Scrolls later. So that is the Untamed Beasts. Then moving on to the Spire Tyrants. That were, I believe, with the recording of this video, our date and time, is the most recent release in terms of a Warcry warband. So,
Yeah, in terms of Chaos specific warbands, this was like the one that was teased and then took a while to come out.
yep. And then it is here, and I will say they are one of mine and yours favourite warbands. They are very cool looking.
Yeah, very cool. Funny enough, the one I don't actually have.
Yeah, it's funny how that works out. But it's if you love the Ever Chosen aesthetic, you'll really like these. So I'll just say a bit of lore for them. So it says each member of the Spire Tyrants has earned glory and renown in the fighting pits of the Varanguard. These ferocious gladiators constantly seek new, deadlier challenges, believing themselves to be favoured by Archaon himself. That's how many points are they, Jamie? Have we got their points?
Yeah, that's still another cheap 70.
So they're favoured by Archaon. They're the same points. Well, that's interesting. So going on to their will stats, so 70 points, that's nice. Now something I believe there's 70 points for all of them, if not most of them, for these Warcry warbands, which is very nice. It does mean that they come into contest with like, well, you could, probably get Marauders for that point, but these models are a lot cooler. That's what I'll say. So the movement we've got for these guys, it's 6 inches. We've got a 5+ save, a bravery 5, and 1 wound. So the 5+ save, I know it doesn't sound amazing, but it's 1 better than the Untamed Beasts. And for a unit like this, it's not bad. A 4+ save would have been great though. But a unit of Spire Tyrants has any number of models, each armed with gladiatorial or weapons. That's what its description is. And then the gladiatorial weapon. So a 1 range, 1 attack, force hit, force wound, no rend, 1 damage.
Very basic kind of stats there.
Yeah, off the bat, worse than the Untamed Beasts. Just it's lacking that throwing weapon, but hopefully it'll make up for it with the rest. So the Pit Champion, 1 in every 9 models in this unit must be a Pit Champion. 2 to your attack characteristics of a Pit Champion's melee weapons. Yeah, that's good. He's making 3 attacks. Nothing game changing though. And then the Head Claimer. So 1 in every 9 models in this unit must be a Head Claimer. Add 1 to the damage characteristic of a Head Claimer's melee weapons.
You say you got 1 guy doing 2 damage.
Yeah, you got 1 guy doing 2 damage.
1 guy doing 3 attacks.
I'm just wondering if you can make the Pit Champion the same as the Head Claimer. But it might have been cleared up somewhere else. So I don't want to look too much into that. But I'm just thinking it's a way to make your 2 damage weapon guy have 3 attacks. But I'm pretty sure if that was the way, that's what everyone would be doing. So probably not. And then the next one is the Bestigor Destroyer. 1 in every 9 models in this 1 in every 9 models in this unit must be a Bestigor Destroyer. Add 2 to the attack characteristics of the Bestigor Destroyer melee weapons. It's great how the Bestigor Destroyer and the Pit Champion happen to have the same bonus.
Yeah, they could maybe change that up a little bit. So.
Yeah, could have maybe given him rend. I don't know. And then the abilities. So Pit Fighters. And that means you can add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks made by this unit if it charged in the same turn. So, Jamie, what are your thoughts on the Spire Tyrants?
In terms of their... They throw out more attacks, don't they? They throw out more attacks than the Untamed Beast for 70 points in terms of melee attacks. +1 to hit on the charge, makes them 3s and 4s. It's alright for 70 points. They're not going to be they're still going to be the same kind of use, but I'd prefer a little bit better utility of movement with the Untamed Beasts.
Yeah, it's one of those where
Obviously, if you're playing, like, going to, what's it? It was,
what's that?
Allegiance, Ravengers.
Yeah, Ravengers, where you bring on stuff.
When you get to bring them on, if you bring these on at the end, near the end, they're more likely to kill something, like you say, like 10 ghouls sitting on a back objective.
Yep. And if
like
you get that charge in, you've got +1 to hit. You know, if you get that 9-inch charge or whatever.
Yeah, and they throw out quite a decent number of attacks. Because I think all the Warcry warbands that we're going to go through work well with the ability to summon them on. So you can summon which warband you might need for that battle to capture objectives, to leave, even just to leave behind. Like, these are obviously better to leave on your own objective than what Untamed Beasts are.
Yeah, exactly, because they've got the better save. I think you made a very good point there with the Ravengers sub-allegiance. If you guys are a bit unaware of that, go check out our previous video where we talked about that in depth. And one of the things you can do there, like you mentioned, is bring on either Marauder unit, Marauder Horsemen, or Cultists unit onto the side of the battlefield. And you can basically do it 5 times in a turn, in a game even. And that is good. That's a very good ability. And when you see the Cultist option, it's just keyword Cultist. It makes you feel like that's just one unit. But of course, that's the different Warcry warbands that Slays Darkness has, and each one of those does something different. So it does give you quite a good toolbox for that. So I think you're right. It is a good use for that. It also means if you're a fan of these Warcry warbands, but you're like, I don't really know, I'm fitting it in my list or something. You know, it's just not how you want to build your army essentially. But you want these guys in your collection, go Ravengers, and then you can always bring them on. Like, it's a good, and I really think that's something I want to say about these Cultist units, is because, like we just said, the Spire Tyrants aren't as good as the Untamed Beasts in my personal opinion for rules wise, but my god, do I really like the models, and that would be enough for me to take them.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And I've played one with starting with Cultists on, and I played as Ravengers and summoned Cultists on as and when I needed them, as I already had quite a lot of Warcry warbands and I really wanted to use them.
And they're, to be honest,
don't have more orders.
No.
And to make the most of the Ravengers, I thought, summoning some of my Warcry warbands if I need them. And in fact I did, and it was great fun.
Yeah, we had a game where it got to the bit where it was very close towards the end, and it was all about sort of like catching the last few objectives, and I would have captured some objectives because I had some cavalry going around your backfield. However, just because you brought on like a unit of 9 here and a unit of 9 there, that was just like a turn or two that the cavalry had to chew through to try and get the objectives, and because of that, you got to keep claiming those points. So it was good. Right, so that is the Spire Tyrant. So, like we say, we like them, but I think, me personally, I like them more because of the models rather than their rules. It's an unfortunate one, but it's that's the honest truth, I'd say, for these guys. But moving on to something with a bit more armour is going to be the Iron Golems. So, these are kind of like the opposite to the Untamed Beasts, and they came in that Warcry starter set a year or so ago, and these guys are basically the tough ones. So, skilled blacksmiths, the Iron Golems believe themselves chosen to provide arms and armour to our Chaos forces amongst the war-racked lands of Shaman. Their legions are renowned for their dauntless resilience and chilling efficiency. Pretty cool stuff there. And then, how many points are these going to cost us, Jamie?
Yeah, still another cheap old 70.
Another cheap old 70. Lovely to hear. And they've got a 5-inch movement, a 4+ save, 6 bravery, not 60. That'd be amazing. And a 1 wound. And I have to say, 4+ save for a unit that costs 70 points. Pretty good.
Oh yeah, they do stand out for that. But again, it's you look at the 4+ save. It's a different role then that they can do.
Yeah, it is. And then, so a description, say, unit of Iron Golems has any number of models, each armed with Legion weapons and bolos. So the missile weapon, which is the bolos. So range 8, 1 attack, force hit, force wound, no render 1 damage. So not as strong as what we saw for the Untamed Beasts for that missile weapon, but
all 8 of them get this then.
Is it all 8 of them that get it?
Yep. Any number of models, each armed with Legion weapons and bolos.
Of course, yeah. That's
that's
better. Yeah, that's loads better. Especially 4s and 4s, yeah, I'm liking that. And then the melee weapons, so this is range 1, attack 1. It's force to hit, force to wound, no render 1 damage. So this sort of standard
basic, very basic across the Warcry warbands. But then it comes down to the few special characters that they have.
And do you want to take us through some of them?
Starting with the Dominer. 1 in every 8 models in this unit must be a Dominer. Add 1 to attack characteristics of Dominer's mini weapon. Pretty much the same as most of the others.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it helps, doesn't it? It's not add 2 attacks, but this unit is outright getting a better save and a missile weapon, so you've got to bear that in mind. And
then the next thing makes them really stand out as well. The Signifier. 1 in every 8 models in the unit must be a Signifier. Add 2 to the bravery characteristic of this unit while it includes any signifiers. Now they've got a bravery of 8 for 70 points. That's pretty good.
That is good, and it's one of those things where you might not see bravery as being that important, because we have talked about, bravery, there are lots of ways to go around it, but there's so many abilities out there, like, I don't know, the Mortek called a catapult that I've used against you in your Chaos Army, and how you can just pick models out of an enemy unit and then make the enemy unit break coherency and battleshot phase. They're screwed. But with a lot of those like targeted attacks, it depends on how good your bravery is.
Yeah, and also if you're kind of my idea for these guys are leaving them on the back objective. You're not going to preferably leave a hero next to them. So if someone does surprise you and gets to them, the extra 2 bravery can help keep them there in the way.
Yeah, definitely. And the reason behind that, we'll get to their abilities in a moment. But just the one last thing to say for their unit description is the Ogre Breacher. So this is obviously the big guy. See in the picture on the screen now. And he is 1 in every 8 models in this unit. Must be an Ogre Breacher. Ogre Breachers have a wound characteristic of 3. It would have been nice to see him have a bit better attacks, but I understand that they make it a bit more simplified, and you are only paying 70 points. But 3 wins instead of 1 is good. At least it's not 2 wins.
It makes them, in then kind of like stats, that very basic battle line kind of stats. But you think for 70 points, you're getting 11 wounds from this unit with a 4+ save.
Yeah.
Very much across the line of some of your kind of basic kind of battle line. And then you get to their then ability, which is the Iron Resilience. You can reroll save rolls for attacks that target this unit. This unit has not made a normal move in the same turn. It says a unit has not made a normal move. That means, does it count it? Does it charge move alright?
I would say a charge move doesn't count because it specifically says normal. We had a bit of a conversation with this, didn't we, in another video where we said it just mentioned if a unit moves. That I think it was one of the spells where you stop enemy moving, and it didn't. I believe it didn't say stops.
It said all movement, isn't it?
Yeah, or it just said movement. If this says normal move, then it's what you would think is normal move, and it's probably standard move, and it's probably defined as normal move in the core rules. So as you've been saying throughout this review of this unit, these guys are not offensive. They're there to just sit on one of your back objectives. Often when I'm list building, I tend to go quite elite when I build my armies, and I kind of just go for a small unit of 10 models or whatever to sit on the back objective, because I need to cover myself a little bit, and this would be a great option for that. Yes, it's only 8 models, but one of them has got 3 wounds anyway. They've got a 4-up save, and if they don't move, it's a 4-up save re-rolling, so they can just sit there by themselves with a bravery of an additional 2, so you're looking at bravery 8, and that means that if the enemy chips away, if there's 8 of these fighting something else that's very similar, and your enemy's doing a punt to try and take your back objective, even if the enemy manages to kill a few of your Iron Golems, because of your bravery 8, you should hopefully not fail that battle shock.
Yeah, which can make all the difference.
Yeah, so these guys are defensive. I know I said it'd be nice if the Ogre Breacher had a bit of a better melee weapons, but realistically that doesn't matter. The fact that he's got +2 wounds is better, because he's not there to attack. He's there. This whole Iron Golems Warcry unit is there to defend.
Yeah, soak up the damage.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things, isn't it, where don't try and make one unit be able to be okay at everything. Make it exceptional at one thing, and that's what these are for their points cost anyway. And then keywords, they've got Chaos, Mortal, Slaves to Darkness, Cultists, and Iron Golems. And the Iron Golems is definitely a unit from Warcry. I don't personally own them, but they're a unit from Warcry that I would take if I owned, for holding that back objective.
Yeah, and those are the ones I have.
Yeah,
definitely used in 1-1 games.
Definitely. Cool, because actually, just think as well, if they don't move, I know they haven't got as many wounds and stuff, but their save though is pretty much as good as Chaos Warriors. They don't have the more wound save, but 4-up save re-rolling. It's the same as 10.
If you're willing to spend a bit more, 140 points for where it'd be 16 of them. Obviously, the Ogre Breacher would then have 6 wounds between the two. Still going to be 22 wounds for a 4-up save for rolling. They're going to be quite hard to shift off your back objective.
Oh yeah, you're going to need to dedicate something to try and kill these guys. And it's the other thing where if the enemy goes to try and charge them with something, but let's say they fail their charge, and then it's your turn next. If you've got 16 of those models, you're going to throw a lot of those bollards missile weapon at them, which I know it doesn't have any rend and it's quite a weak attack, but probably going to do a bit of damage.
Yeah,
they can hurt they can still dish out
3-wound cavalry coming at you, and one of them's on 2 wounds. You might knock that one off.
Exactly. Even if they have to sit still, they can at least do something offensively.
For me, at the moment, they're the top of the warbands.
Yeah, I'd say they're the easiest to include in your army, because you literally, how do you make them do best? Well, deploy them on that back objective, right? Yeah, and just don't do anything with them for the rest of the game. They're the easiest to use.
Better than that, than something like your 100-point unit of Chaos Warriors. You pay 30 less points, and these guys can do just about the same thing. No more wound save, but you're saving 30 points, in which can go somewhere else.
I mean, unless it just so happens that there's more wounds attacking these guys, I don't know why the enemy would be taking their more wound attacking units against your unit of 8 Iron Golems on an objective. You think there would be better target priority for the enemy to do. So with that, the keywords are Chaos, Mortal, Slaves to Darkness, Cultists, and Iron Golems. And going on to the next one, and this is of course the birdie one with Covus Cabal. So agile and Avaricious? How do you say that, Jamie? Can you see it?
Avaricious. Avaricious.
Yeah, so agile and murderous cultists of the Covus Cabal, just miss it, descend on their prey from above, always hunting for worthy trinkets to offer the great gatherer. Wonder who that is. Chaotic patron of the cutthroats and thieves. The Cabal strike without warning or mercy. If you like Zeech, you're going to like the aesthetic of these guys. You know, it's very obvious. You can see how some of these war bands are paired to different gods, and they're all themed around their realm. But these guys, like you can tell they're Zeechian. So with that, going on to their will stat, but quickly, just so we don't forget, how many points he's going to cost us, Jamie?
Another 70.
We love that. I almost feel like I'm sure they put loads of thought into point costing these, or the copy and paste button was very easy to use. So
I think that's what you're seeing. But their stats are very similar, with obviously subtle changes. It comes down to mainly their abilities.
Yeah, exactly. At least I'd say that's one thing about the rule writing, which is, you know, it sounds a bit weird, but kind of should be a bit thankful for, is that they at least they have given them different abilities. They haven't just all made them the same. So I could have seen them doing that. But these guys, one of the things that stands out for them is the fact that they've got movement 8. So they're very fast. They've got a 6-up save, not as savvy. Bravery 5 and 1 wound, like some of the others. And the description: a unit of Covus Cabal has any number of models, each armed with Covus weapons and a Raven darts. So, do you want to take us through the Raven darts, Jamie?
They have Raven darts is their missile weapon, range 8, attack 1, 4+, hit 5+ to wound. So a bit worse than the bonus.
Mm-hmm.
But all the models have this, so it's still not 9 attacks. It's something, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Never complain. And then
we've got the Corvus weapons, which is pretty much the same across all the line.
Yeah, just
Attacks
1 inch range, 1 attack, 4s, no random 1 damage, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But their speed is good already, but let's get on to their ability. So we have the Shadow Piercer. So a 1 in every 9 models in this unit must be a Shadow Piercer. Add 1 to the attack characteristics of the Shadow Piercer's melee weapons.
Very much standard across all of them, isn't it? The leader plus so many attacks.
Yeah. And then
you got the other special guy, Strike Talent. 1 in every 9 models in this unit must be a Strike Talent. You can reroll 1s in the charge rolls made for this unit, while it includes any Strike Talents. I imagine this guy is the flying guy.
Yeah, he's the one from the Spider-Man film, right? I don't. Is it Spider-Man Homecoming or something? There's he's the bird baddie anyway.
The Vulture.
Yeah, it looks just like him, but in a cool, very
in a more fantasy way.
Yeah, definitely not.
The only thing I'm not too keen on this is you don't want them. I suppose you can tag a unit. But I personally would rather have that just for run rolls, not charge.
The Death from Above?
Yeah, the Strike Talon.
Oh, sorry, yeah, the Strike
Talon. 1s to charge. Where it's I don't really want this guys to charge.
Yeah, it's
rerolls 1s to run would be a bit better.
It's just can he have an extra wound instead, please? You know. And then the ability is Death from Above. When this unit makes a move, it can pass across terrain features in the same manner as a model that can fly. So I see this unit as it's meant to be on the board. It's a quick moving unit to get to where it needs to be. However, where does it need to go? I don't know where it wants to go. It's gonna die. If you want to just try and hold back the enemy for a turn by charging in, or just be a pain in the enemy's movement plans. or to try and get to a objective. But I think you're better off just putting it. I know they're more expensive, but just like Marauder Horsemen, if you want to be there for speed, or Untamed Beasts even.
Well, yeah. As far as the things that these guys have got is that they can ignore terrain.
Yeah, but it's
with an 8-inch move. That's like I prefer if they strike talent game and rerolls one on the run, because I feel like you'd be wanting to run these guys a lot.
Yeah. But where they run into? That's my thing. What is their job?
I would definitely say, obviously, like late objectives kind of thing. Because obviously they got more models than Marauder Horsemen. So if you're like weighing up, Marauder Horsemen, obviously a little bit quicker, but there's only 5 of them. Where there's 9 of these guys, and all you got to do is obviously outnumber your opponent in the
radius,
in the point zone, don't you?
Yeah, you can't charge these into the enemy. Like you have to, like if you're looking at that like radius of the objective, don't charge them into the enemy. Just be within the radius if you try it, because they will die very quickly, and they haven't got enough attack potential to weaken the enemy that much, unless you're going against something very weak. They're for me, they're my least favourite ones. So talking about rule wise, they're probably better than Spire Tyrants, but
yeah, it's very.
Yeah, you want to. So what you want to do, if you want to take these guys, you could you could bring them on as a cultist unit as your Ravengers, but what you could also do is just keep them back on your board. Use them as a unit you string out to stop the enemy deep striking behind you, that sort of thing. And then really when they are to be used is the later part of the game, like you've mentioned, Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it uses. Or if you just want something as a screen, use them as that. So that is the Covus Cabal, and that is also keywords Chaos, Mortal, Slaves Darkness, Cultists, and Covus Cabal. Then going on to the next unit, I was going to have a look at the Cypher Lords. So the Cypher Lords, they seek not only to defeat their foes, but to drive them to insanity, for they believe madness is the purest form of chaos. In battle, the chemical bombs. Yeah, they're chemical warfare and illusionary tactics of these Haitian cultists render them almost impossible to pin down. So these are quite good. I mean, we'll go into the rules and stuff, but I prefer them more than the Covus Cabal, shall we say. So they have a movement of 6. They have 6+ save, bravery 5, and 1 wound. So carbon copy of the Untamed Beasts, pretty much. And they have, for their description, a unit of Cypher Lords has any number of models, each armed with exotic. Exotic? Is that how? Yeah, exotic.
Yep.
Blades and throwing stars and chakrams. Chakrams? Something like that.
Circle bladed disc.
Exactly, ninja stars, but not stars. So the missile weapons, so the throwing stars and chakrams, we have a 8-inch range, 1 attack, 4 to hit, 5 to wound, no rend, 1 damage.
Right, the same as the Raven Darts.
Yep, and the melee weapon is exactly the same as the Covus Cabal and the others.
And the others, yeah.
They
1 attack
from,
each, 4s and 4s.
They're so different in their style and looks and combat abilities, because they come from all these different realms, but funny enough, they're all the same. So, bar like one ability. So going into the different models in the unit. So the Thrall Master. So 1 in every 8 models in this unit must be a Thrall Master.
He is a part of the ability.
Okay, good. I was going to say, I was just reading that. I was like, oh, what does that do? So anyway, going on to the next one. So we've got Illuminate. So 1 in every 8 models in this unit must be a Illuminate. So add 1 to charge rolls for this unit while it includes any Illuminate. That's a lot better than the rerolls ones. in my opinion, from the Cabal.
Yeah, it does a straight up
Yeah.
add 1.
It's going to come into play a lot more. And then, do you want to take us to the Shattered Gloom Globe, which is their ability, Jamie?
Shattered Gloom Globe. While this unit includes any full masters, at the start of the combat phase, you can pick one enemy unit within 3 inches of this unit and roll a dice. On a 4+, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attack for that unit until your next hero phase. The same unit cannot be affected by a disability more than once per turn. This I like. I ran Cypher Lords in one of my games with my Slaves of Darkness.
Was it against my? I remember using it against me.
Annoying.
Yeah, you
I went for minuses to hit and wound kind of strategy. So I was looking through, and there's a few people that can do it. Ways to make them -1. I think it's just like a fun. It negates a lot of damage. I feel
it does, especially
it
how
is on a 4+, but then that's 50-50 then. So it's not terrible.
No, and I like it because, well, not in this circumstance, but I like what it can do because when you use it against me, is when very early. I think we had a game the first day this book came out, and we just wanted to play what we had our Slaves of Darkness, and I charged your front line with 10 Chaos Knights, and by you making me -1 to hit, definitely helped you out.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Which and that's I mean, obviously it's not guaranteed that -1 to hit, but because you had these on your front line or just behind your front line within 3 inches of me, by making me -1 to hit that turn on that charge, they had already paid for themselves.
Yeah, it helped stop a lot of your Chaos Knights charge bonus.
Because if you string out 8 of them, obviously if you go for a bigger unit you can, but if you string out 8 of these guys, that's quite a big bubble for the -3 to hit. I know obviously you can only, you pick one enemy unit, but that's quite a big bubble to be able to choose from.
Yeah, and it allows you to kind of nerf whoever your opponent's maybe hardest hitting unit is. Obviously there's always a chance that it'll fail, but then obviously there's a chance that you're going to negate some damage.
Exactly. And then it's a very good generic ability for the cultist units, where we saw for like the Spire Tyrants, they get to real hit rolls as they charge. Right, they're not a very combat offensive unit anyway. This is going to help out the rest of your army. So
yeah, I would think that the strategy with these kind of guys would be to run up with your army and try and obviously someone trying to counter plays you. He's going to kind of be a bit of a fail safe with obviously possibly making a unit -1 to hit, or even just forcing your opponent, if they know that this and they don't want to risk it, they're going to position in a way that they're going to avoid them or try and kill them, which then they're negating attacks, trying to kill a 70-point unit rather than your unit that you want to survive more.
Yeah, I like these guys. I think they're useful for those reasons you mentioned as well. So we've got keywords: Chaos Mortals, Slaves of Darkness, Cultists, and Cypher Lords. And something I will say, and I know you will as well, Jamie, about these Warcry warbands is fantastic models. And the reason why I want to say it now, because Cypher Lords, they're one of the nicest warbands in my personal opinion. They're all nice in their own ways, but they're very dynamic. They're sort of jumping around and all the place, aren't they?
Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed the hobby project I had with these guys.
Yeah, they're it is cool. And what I want to say while we're reviewing the cultist units is that you can you take them and you can do some kit bashing and stuff and make Marauders out of them. They are. It honestly is just because these Warcry warbands are from Warcry and they are transferred over. Don't feel like put off by them straight away. Even if the rules aren't for you, there's so much converting potential.
Oh yeah, definitely. All you just got to do is make sure you're within GW's base, like legal base thing, if you're planning on taking them somewhere.
So I imagine Marauders are 25mm, right? Or you can, you can convert them up as Chaos Warriors and just try and be a bit clever in trying to make it so like they're not these massive hulking, models clad with armor, but they're just as combat effective.
Fighters,
yeah, exactly. There's loads you can do with it, of course. But the next one is one of my favourite looking ones, and I think one of your ones. I want to have a look at the Splinter Fang, which is very Greek-like.
Jumped out straight away.
Yeah, this is one like surprisingly. I know you do, Jamie. You own them, but I don't own these guys. But they were one that I'm like, when I buy a warband, I definitely want these ones because I would say second favourite for me. These ones looking wise. But let's see what they're like in the games. Firstly, looking at the lore. So the mystic leaders of the Splinter Fang lead their people in worship of the Coiling Ones, serpentine demons who embody cunning and might. Poison is the greatest weapon of the Fangs, and a single cut from their blades can prove fatal. Very cool, very much like Assassin's Creed Odyssey with the Cultists.
Very Slaneshi like, with the old serpent demons.
They are, yeah, so the serpent for Slanesh, if you've recently watched my lore videos, they start, and I've referred to Slanesh as a snake serpent there, as he is referred in the lore, and in the world that was, the Norskans knew Slanesh as this big like sea serpent, so you can see where it's coming in here, especially with the Greek sort of style for Slanesh. It's like when I said the Covus Cabal, it's like Zeech. So what did we just look at? The Cypher Lords, they're quite Zeechian as well. So you can see how like I said earlier, the cultists lean towards worship of these different gods. But the thing that I love about it is it's not as simple as the Splinter Fang here worship Slanesh as like the Hedonites of Slanesh do. No. These guys believe he is the Coiling One. They don't. If you were to say the word Slanesh to them, they probably wouldn't understand what you were trying to refer to. But they all have different cultures.
Got their own like certain cultures about them.
Yeah, it's like I said when I talked to my lore video about Slaves of Darkness. And I know this is meant to be unit reviews, but me and Jamie both really like lore, so we will talk about it as and when we feel like it. But what I really liked is talking about the different cultures and the different tribes and how they worship different gods. But what I keep referring to is the Warcry models are the best example really you can get out there from Games Workshop of saying how the different cultures worship different gods. The Splinter Fang, as a perfect example, they have an elf. There's a Chaos Elf there. That's a thing. So
yeah, it was a great model.
It really is. So anyway, enough with myself rambling on. So let's get on to the rules for this unit. So how many points are they going to cost us, Jamie? Big old 70. I feel like they're all going to be 70 points, but I think it's going to be specified for each one just to be sure. So they have a 6-inch movement, a 5+ save, a bravery 5, and 1 wound. So 5+ save, pretty good.
Bit one up on Covus Cabal and Cypher Lords.
And the Untamed Beasts. So doing pretty well there. The description is a unit of Splinter Fang have any number of models, each armed with poisoned weapons. So the poisoned weapons, so a 1-inch range, 1 attack, force to hit. Do you want to guess what it is to wound, Jamie, and the rest?
Oh, it is a 4, no range, 1 damage.
Oh, that's great. They obviously all buy their stuff in the same shop. All have the same budget, which is pretty much true. So going on to the description, as you own this warband, do you want to take us through the different types of models we have in the unit?
So first up, you have your True Blood. 1 in every 10 models in this unit must be a True Blood. Add 1 to attack characteristic of the True Blood mini weapons. The standard leader. And then you have your Serpent Caller. 1 in every 10 models in the unit must be a Serpent Caller. And his ability comes up as their main kind of one of 2 abilities. These guys are a bit more special.
Yeah.
And then you got serpents. 1 in every 10 models in the unit must be a serpent model. Serpents models have a wound characteristic of 2. If you wonder what a serpent model is, if you haven't seen this warband, it's the little snakes.
Yeah.
You get a little bundle of snakes.
The jungle swarms, what you can buy the metal versions of the lizardman versions for about £50 on eBay. They are cool. I like them, and they are useful for, I'm sure, strategy we'll mention when we read the abilities.
Yeah, so their first ability is also their motto: 1 cut, 1 kill. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made by the unit is a 6, that attack inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target and the attack sequence ends. Do not make a wound or save roll.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, some mortal wound damage.
Because it's also a unit. It's not like by the leader or by the snakes. It's just the whole thing. So
yeah, it is all of them. So that'd be, they throw out what, 11 attacks.
Yeah, it makes their 4 up weapon a bit more special.
And then you got the Serpent Caller. He is part of this ability, and he is the Snake Charmer. You can return 1 slain Serpent model to this unit in your hero phase if this unit includes any Serpent Callers. Set up to return a model within 1 inch of a model from this unit. The returning model can only be set up within 3 inches of an enemy unit if any models from this unit are already within 3 inches of that unit. So they can be set up in combat, but you must already be in combat.
To do so. So yeah, that's just so you can't tag enemy units and stuff and be a pain essentially. So where obviously this is good is if you take the Cabalists, was it the sub-allegiance?
Yeah. The Magic Allegiance.
Yeah. Do you want to take us through that? How that's good?
So how I ran it was, when you're doing your ritual, you can kill your snake as one of the models that dies. And as you return 1 slain serpent model to this unit in your hero phase, you get to then return him. So you kill 1. So although you might kill D3, so you could kill 3, you're at least returning 1 model back.
Exactly. And you know when you get the plus D3 to your cast, is that for how many wounds you've dealt, or how many more wounds? Or models?
Because when we went over it, it's models.
Oh, okay. So there's a bit of a trade-off, isn't there?
Yeah, although the snake counts as 2 wounds, you're killing off models.
But it's one of those, isn't it? If you're happy with just getting plus 2 or something.
If you get +1 to cast, you kill off 1 model, you kill off the snake, but then you bring him back.
Yeah.
You haven't lost anything from the unit.
Exactly. It's just it's a synergy you can use if you'd like to. So keywords they've got is Chaos Mortal, Slaves of Darkness, Cultists, and Splinter Fang. I like these guys. I like the mortal wound potential. I like the fact that they've got how many wounds they've got? They've got 11 wounds this unit, and the bringing back of the snakes is nice. I'm obviously a deaf player here at Age of Nagash, so anything for regeneration I'm a fan of, as long as I'm controlling it. And as you heard me introduce this unit, I just really like the models, so I'm going to be a bit biased, but I like it.
Yeah, they're really nice models to use, and I think that their abilities are useful for definite. Like mortal wounds means that they can maybe chip off away at a large hero or any kind of hero. Yeah. And the hero's going to have to waste attacks on killing these guys, because with the mortal wound potential, they can get through 3+ saves. They're a very useful unit. I enjoy using them. For 70 points, you're not investing a lot for what you get.
No, and again, I think I would use this unit as a unit I keep on one of my back objectives. I think that's how I'd use it. The enemy wants to, I don't know, scatter a little bit of shooting on you. They'll probably do 2 wounds a turn if they're not that dedicated to killing you, and you're just going to bring that snake back every time. So they're not as good as the Iron Golems at seeing an objective, but they are better than the other ones we've looked at so far. And what I would say is that these guys are better than the Iron Golems for when they go, right, we can't just sit on this back objective anymore, we have to try and get involved. So
yeah, and they got the more wound output, which is a definite bonus.
Yeah, well, 100%. That, that's still 11 attacks. You're still going to do 1, maybe 2 more wounds on average. So
yeah,
it's not bad. Right, so with that, we then move on to, I believe, the last one at this current time recording. I know there's a fire people coming out at some point, but not quite yet. So the last warband, and actually my favourite as well, because I said I liked the Splinter Fang, but they're not nearly as slashy enough for me. I have to go the full way, and of course that is going to be the Unmade. And they also are the Shaishian warband. They're all about, they're from the realm of death, so it all fits. Right, so I'll get started with the lore. The island of Tzlid, drifting ever closer to the Cheyenne Nedra, is home to the cannibal tribes of the Unmade. The self-mutilation performed by these pain worshippers is horrifying to behold, and their leaders are visions from the darkest of nightmares. Essentially, you've got a bit of lore there. What you want to know is that when you see why are they all wearing these masks? And I wouldn't want to be the enemy who's got their face on their new belt. That's a bad way to go. Yeah, all their belt buckles are their own faces.
Yeah, they are insane. Their lore is just crazy.
It is the one little bit there doesn't do it justice. But if you want to know more, you can look it up, obviously. But I know we haven't done all their sayings for all these different warbands, but their saying is, agony is their gift, or their gift is agony, and it's just like the leader of it, the one who's basically standing on stilts and he's got like size for hands and stuff. He is like lopping off these limbs to put these other, just weapons on. But the thing about it, it's not like I'm going to cut off my hand so now I can have a sword instead of a hand. That is their sacrifice by mutilating themselves is how they give devotion to their god, which we know as Slaanesh. But they don't know that, again, like I said, for the Splinter Fang. So it really is quite disturbing, and is one of the little things you see in Age of Sigmar that makes you realise it's not all like sunshine and lollipops.
They're very dark.
It's a very sinister. Like, there's one where one of the models, hasn't he got like, he's lifting up his mask or something, and you can just see his skull, and it's like, yeah. And if you're wondering how can you skin your face off and still be alive, magic is always my go-to answer. But yeah, it's really cool. Anyway, that's enough talking about why I love these guys. I actually own these. This is the only warband I own, and yes, they are still unmade and still in their box. But that is there's reason behind this. Which
too
is
many projects.
I have a problem. Anyway, moving on to what this unit does. How many points did it cost us? Is it 70 points, Jamie?
70 points.
70. Oh, a bargain already. I mean, if you want me to read the rules, we will, but I think you should buy them anyway. So we've got a 6-inch movement, a 6+ save, bravery 5, and 1 wound. Probably the best stats we've read so far. Would you agree, Jamie?
Far from it is the
narratively, are they the best stats we've read so far? So a unit of Unmade has any number of models, each armed with maiming weapons. So jokingly about the wheel stat, obviously not a good save, and everything else is about the same as well, really, for the lesser ones. So looking at the melee weapons, we have the maiming weapons, and that's going to be a 1-inch range, 1 attack, force hit, force wound, no rend, 1 damage, no surprise. And then the Nightmare Sickles, which I said was like the size. So this is 1-inch range, 3 attacks, force hit, freeze wound, minus 1 rend, and 2 damage. So already we can see that. I know that's just one model doing it, but in melee, it's the best unit so far.
Yeah, and that 4s, 3s, -1, 2 damage.
That's pretty good. That's like a special weapon you would see, like, I don't know, like a gore cleaver or something. You know,
Oh
it's
yeah,
along those lines.
it's definitely a special weapon kind of guy. And he's up next as the blissful one. One of every 9 models in this unit must be a blissful one. A blissful one is armed with the nightmare sickles instead of maiming weapons.
Yep. Pretty sure. It's like, right, you have to
Yeah,
give one of these guys the better weapon. It's like, oh, really?
I like his name though. He's blissful. He's not a bad guy.
Yeah, he's happy. He's enjoying himself. It's incredibly pain because they haven't invented antibiotics, and I'm sure he's got loads of infections. But he's happy himself. Ignorance is bliss at the end of the day.
And then he got his friend, the joyous one.
Yeah, it's great. I
One of
love
every
it.
9 models in this unit is a joyous one. I'd want the attack gadget of a joyous one's mini weapon.
But because the name is better, it's better than all the other guys who've just read to get +1 attack. So yeah, that's the blissful and joyous one. Could you could definitely imagine that in a D&D thing, couldn't you? Because just before you move on into the next round, we just need to meet a couple of people. Oh, what are they called? The blissful one and joyous one. Oh, lovely chaps. Won't bring my weapon with me. Leave that behind. But going into their abilities, and this is why I like them in the game. So this is subtract. So it's called Frozen in Fear, and it's, despite the names, you are apparently quite scared when you see them. So subtract 1 from the bravery characteristics of enemy units while they are within 6 inches of any friendly units with this ability. Don't really care too much about that. Here's the important bit. In addition, enemy units within 3 inches of this unit cannot retreat. You can tag onto the end of enemy units with this, multiple enemy units if you want. And as long as this unit survives, so I suggest taking a bigger size unit, you've buggered up enemy movement and enemy retreating.
And through some of our other games, I know it can be a very boring strat. But at the end of the day, if it's a winning strategy, you use it.
Yep.
Retreating out of combats that you're not going to win, or retreating and getting onto an objective, sometimes can seem like the boring play, but obviously it's the winning play. But these guys can stop people doing that.
Yeah.
Once you're in combat within 3 inches of them, you can't go nowhere. It's a very, I think, underrated. I think until you come across it, you realise.
What was the first time we used it? Wasn't it when I played He Knights of Slanesh and I gave one of my guys some artifact that made you not be able to retreat with your eels or something, so your eels were just stuck in combat and not getting the charge bonus?
There was a moment that I wanted to retreat them and go somewhere, but you then was like, no, my guy's got an artifact. Like, oh.
That's just like that. Yeah, it's just like that. That's the thing, and there's nothing I can do about it apart from try and kill them. Which obviously they've got a 6-up save, and there's only 9 in a unit, and that's 9 wounds, which obviously is not that hard to kill. But like I say, if you go more than 9, you can really use this to basically be a pain in the arse. Which I think
how I see it is like there's 70 points. But it's so many points in which your opponent can't really ignore. If your opponent wants to retreat on their turn, they've got to dictate some attacks to this 70-point unit to kill it. Otherwise, they're still not going nowhere.
Oh yeah, it could just be one model left.
Yeah, you can have one model, Inspiring Presence in, so he doesn't run, and then your opponent still can't retreat.
Yeah, I would say, out of, because we've came to the end now of the Warcry warbands that have been released so far. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we're at the end, the Unmade.
Yeah, that's all the
yeah
Warcry warbands.
I would say, so my overall review of the, how many we looked at, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I would say the Iron Golems are the easiest to take. You can take them, plot them objective, don't have to do anything with them. They're going to do a good job just doing what they need to do. I would then say, obviously, like I say, I'm a bit biased with this, but I would then say the Unmade are the most tactical. Or the most sneakily tactical is probably the best way to say it.
I think when you're thinking of the war brands, you got like I think Iron Golems are the clear winners.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think the Unmade, Cypher Lords, Splinter Fang, and the Untamed Beasts have all got very, I think, like situational abilities.
I would say the
More useful than just like Covus Cabal and the Spire Tyrants, unfortunately.
yeah. I mean, if we take away like the looks of models and stuff, I would say the Splinter Fang, despite having all those rules, not as useful as the Unmade or the Untamed Beast or the Cypher Lords. Because yes, they can do more wounds and they can bring back that snake, but that's not adding as much to your army as being able to do that movement before the game, or making an enemy -1 to hit, or making enemy units not be able to retreat.
The abilities will come down to how you're playing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does, but I think so. What we're saying outright, the Spire Tyrants and the Covus Cabal, how me and you would play anyway. I wouldn't take them. Yes, the Covus Cabal are good because they can move over stuff as if it wasn't terrain basically, and if they can fly, but they can't move over enemy units, which is a big difference. And I just don't know what
I think for 70 points, you can't go wrong in most of them in being left on the back objective.
Exactly.
Obviously, the guy in Golems would do the best job, but if you don't have them, whatever one you do have can do that job for 70 points.
Yeah. And what I would...
They'll all do it fine.
And yeah, you're absolutely right. And what I would say, and something you came up with, is that if you by chance you play both games, you're transferring over from Warcry, and you're watching this video, is what I want to say is, and you have all these warbands, go Ravengers, and just summon one of these a turn, and then you'll get a rough idea of how they play. Or if you really want to know how to best run them, put them all in your list. Put a unit of each of them, and that will soon give you an idea of how to make them work. They've all got strats. Some are just better than others, and the Iron Golems are the winners out of that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So the next unit we're going to be looking at is the Chaos Marauders. So that is right, we're back to the sort of old and classic style of the Slaves to Darkness. And the Chaos Marauders are very renowned because of how powerful they can be in this book. So firstly, reading some of the lore. So hordes of Chaos Marauders form the backbone of many Slaves to Darkness tribes. These barbarous warriors number in the thousands and fight ferociously to sweep away civilization in the name of the Chaos Gods, and also dive in droves. So they are going to cost you 160 points for a minimum size unit of 20, and you can take them in a maximum size unit of 40 for 320 points, and there's no discount there. They're also going to be battle line in your army. So, looking at the description, a unit of Chaos Marauders has any number of models, each armed with one of the following weapon options: Barbarian Axe and Dark Wood shields, or Barbarian Flails. Looking at their will stats, they have a 6-inch movement, a 6+ save, a bravery 5, and 1 wound. So standard, chaff basically, reading at that. But these are more than that, and we'll get to that in a moment. Looking at the melee weapons, Jamie, do you want to take us through those?
So you got the Barbarian Axe with 1-inch range, 2 attacks, 4s to hit, 4s to wound, no range, 1 damage. Or you got the Barbarian Flail with 2-inch range, 1 attack, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, and 1 damage. Kind of like your standard little infantry kind of stats there, with the 4s to hit.
Yes, standard sort of infantry there. Not bad with the Barbarian Axe with the 2 attacks. The Barbarian Flail with the +1 to its range, and the wounded on a 3 is nice. Then going on to the ability tree, so the Marauder Chieftain. So basically one model in this unit is the Chieftain, and you add 1 to his attacks. The Icon Bearer in this unit is going to make enemy units within 6 inches of it -1 to its bravery. Like, we've talked about bravery bombs and stuff, and we said currently in Age of Sigmar it's not the biggest way to play, as Battleshock isn't as critical, because lots of armies have ways to avoid it, but things are always changing, and if you want to build towards bravery bomb, here you go, here's an easy way to do it. The Barbarian Drummer allows this unit to add 1 to its run and charge rolls. And the Mark of Chaos, so this is like the first time we're sort of covering this in a unit review as part of the updated series. So essentially what the Mark of Chaos does is it lets you, when you set up this unit, or essentially when you're writing out your army list, you can give it the Khorne keyword, the Tzeentch keyword, the Nurgle keyword, the Slaanesh keyword, or the Undivided keyword. And obviously those will give it corresponding abilities. If you want to know more about that, in our last video we talked all about this in the Awe of Chaos abilities as part of the Slaves Giants and Allegiance abilities.
Yeah, and it very much adds to whatever unit you're picking in your army, doesn't it?
It really does. You can pick and flavour them. Like, I would say off the bat, depends obviously, run them how you want, but your Chaos Marauders aren't there for to be Tzeentch.
No.
As an example, they're there, Khorne or Slaanesh is not a bad one, or Nurgle is probably a big one people go for. So the proper abilities now. So going on to the Barbarian Horde. So add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by this unit while it has at least 10 models. In addition, improve the rend characteristics of this unit's melee weapons by 1 while it has at least 20 models. For a chaff unit, brilliant. For a bog standard, grunt, keen to learn, basic troopers, very nice.
Featuring their minimum size 20, so unless someone shoots one of your guys, you're going to get both abilities. If you're fighting first,
which is great, and a lot of the horde abilities usually start off as 20 or more, so at least you're already getting the hit. Adding 1 to hit rolls, which if you're taking the Barbarian Flail, you're hitting on freeze now, wounding on freeze, great. And like we say, obviously you go like Khorne, you're getting an extra a reroll or 1, so your hits, you're also getting +1 to wound if you're in range of the general. So you can really start building upon this. And then going on to the next ability, a Boundless Ferocity. So this is what the Marauders in Slaves to Darkness, particularly since like their new battle tome, have become renowned for, shall we say. So do you want to take us through this one, Jamie, or why it is so important?
A Boundless Ferocity. When you make a charge roll for this unit, change the lowest dice in that roll to a 6. If the roll is double, change one of the dice to a 6 instead. Just straight away. On the dice, you're not getting less than 7.
Less than 8.
Adding on their drummer.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's 8. So you can't go lower than an 8.
No.
Which is just crazy.
So for most units, the minimum you can roll for your charge is a 2. For this unit, minimum you can roll for your charge, unless your drummer's being killed, is an 8. So when we've talked about Ravengers, like we did in the last video, that's sub-allegiance, and you can set up Marauders from the table edge as a part of like a summoning mechanic. That means that unit of 10 Marauders would probably be able to set up and then charge the an enemy shooting unit at the back, or an enemy wizard, or just try and tie things up. It's not like, oh, hopefully I'll get a 9 to charge because I'm just over 9 inches away. These guys, you'll be unlucky if you don't.
Yeah, you only need 1 dice to be good.
Yeah, it's literally like when you're asked for a 3 on your charge rolls because you're 3 inches away. That's literally how much, without going to math timer, obviously, that's literally how much it feels you need luck to be able to do this.
Yeah, and with the teleporting spell as well, from the law, setting up 9 inches away from your enemy's front lines or wherever you kind of can teleport them. 9-inch charge is very then feasible with this unit.
Yeah, it really is good. And then like we could have talked about the boundless ferocity for a long time, and people have always talked about this since it became a thing. So I think we've covered it in fair enough. It's great, and it's what really puts these guys on the maps in terms of where they fit into Age of Sigmar as a whole. And then the last ability is the Darkwood Shield. So you add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target a unit with Darkwood Shields. So that's it's dependent. If you're taking these guys in minimum size, which to be fair is 20, so it still feels like a lot, but if you take them just as a front line to protect your more elite stuff, give them the Darkwood Shields. You know, if they're there to be a shield wall, give them a shield, let them do their job better. If you're going to use them offensively, which most people would do, because that's how they become really good, don't give them the shield, give them the flail, because a unit of 40 will probably be attacking first for how you set it up. And then that means that you'll be maximising your attacks. Yes, automatically you lose 1 attack compared to the Barbarian Axe, but by just the sheer amount of how many of these models will be able to attack, it will more than enough make up for it, and you're getting that extra +1 to wound.
Yeah, definitely. It's like sacrificing survivability for damage. And for these guys, their main abilities, I think, focus towards damage.
Yeah, it's completely that. If you want, like I say, you can use.
It's a nice have. If you're, like you say, running smaller units, or you summon a unit on just to be, you know, with the Ravagers, summon a unit on just to be your back objective holders. And you want them to have the shield for a little bit of survivability.
Mm.
So I think you are going more flail. Which unfortunately for them, the old models just kind of look a bit funny with the flails.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, like, I think if you want to go a screen, I think there are better models, maybe Cultist models you could use, or maybe borrow some, Chaos Warhounds from the Beasts of Chaos. But like I've mentioned to you before, Jamie, and it feels like I've literally just said this, there are 3 reasons why I am not a fan of Chaos Marauders in how I would like to play my army. And that's mainly because every time I hear about Slaves of Darkness, since they got alright, everyone talks about Chaos Marauders. The next thing is because the models are a bit too old for my liking, and yes, I do say I like the old Chaos Warriors. That's because they're awesome armor-cladded warriors. Why the hell wouldn't I like them? These Conan the Barbarian models do have a certain charm, but it's not for me. They need some updated models. So what I'd have to do is I'd have to convert a load of these models, a barbarian horde, if you will, into my Greek theme, and that would just take far too much time and far too much money, really, for my interest. And then thirdly, I don't really want to paint that many model in my Slaves of Darkness army. I see my Slaves of Darkness army as a very sort of elite army. And, well, when I say very elite, not like a monster elite army, but, like, elite is in there all, like I say, armor-cladded warriors, pretty much. So they're not really to my aesthetic. And I think you agree with some points, don't you, Jamie, with that?
Oh, yeah. But then, game-wise, you deny how good they are, really, can I?
Yeah.
Looks-wise, they need some love. Exactly. Rules-wise, they're top of the class.
And what people could easily do is go, I want to dedicate all my stuff to Khorne, so why don't I just use Blood Reavers? You could use Blood Reavers, and if your opponent is happy with it, that's absolutely fine. That's cool. You game how you like. But what I'd say, it'd be nice if you do something to make them not look just 100% like Blood Reavers. Like, even if it's just by modelling the weapons and all that sort of thing, that sort of kit bashing. Or, like, I think all the Warcry warbands offer great customized opportunity for conversions.
Yeah, you just obviously just need to pay attention to the base size.
Yeah, exactly. That's the biggest thing. Don't just think because it comes with the base. No, Marauders I believe 25 mil, and then most of the Warcry stuff 32 probably, depending on what you build.
Yeah, they got 28, 25.
Oh right,
32.
Okay. Quite a few.
Yeah,
that's definitely. Go onto the Games Workshop community. Go onto FAQs, see what the base sizes are. Definitely save that PDF. It will help you out a load, especially when you do conversions. But yeah, so summary. Chaos Marauders, if you want to be as competitive and you can in Slaves of Darkness, you're going to want to take these guys probably. I hear more than enough people talk about them, and what I think is a little bit of a shame is that I can't hear people talk about Slaves Darkness without mentioning Chaos Marauders. So, like I said, I feel like we've covered them fair enough here, but we're not going to focus the whole goddamn show on them.
Going on to, well, another going on to another Marauder, but this
Going on to
time
the
he's
next
sitting on a
Marauders.
horse.
We won't focus on them, but going on to the next ones. So these are Chaos Marauder Horsemen. You can take them in minimum-sized units of 5. It's going to cost you 110 points, or max-sized units of 30 for 560 points. Let me just try and do the maths if that was right. Nope, 660 points. I'll get my maths certificate one day. So these guys, I am actually a fan of these ones, and I know you are as well, Jamie. So do you want to take us through the start of this unit? Well, actually, sorry, before we do that, I'll quickly mention the compulsory law. So, riding at the Varanguard, or the Vanguard even, I was getting carried away for a second. Riding at the Vanguard of the Chaos Host come the Marauder Horsemen. These skilled mounted warriors launch daring raids on the enemy lines before pulling back, luring the foe closer before turning around and hacking them to pieces. There you go, Jamie.
Very nice. A unit of Chaos Marauder Horsemen has any number of models, each armed with one of the following weapon options: Barbarian Axe and Darkwood Shield, a Marauder Javelin and a Darkwood Shield, or a Barbarian Flail. Kind of similar to the foot ones. They got a move of 12 inches, 6 up save, Bravery 5, and 2 wounds. I love the 12-inch movement. Is very good for Slaves of Darkness, as most of the armoured stuff moves at a steadier pace. But this is their standout thing: missile weapons. One of the only units in the book that kind of has missile weapons. The Marauder Javelin, range 12, 1 attack, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, -1 rend, 1 damage. That's great for Chaos to have some range.
Yeah, it's in all honesty a welcome addition. Of course, you know, Skaven's got a lot of shooting, and Zeech does as well. But the majority of Chaos, not so much, and particularly Slaves to Darkness. I know a 12-inch range looks quite short, but to be fair, that's not too bad. It can always be a 9. And the rend is very nice, because like we say, this is, I know it's like a mounted unit and everything, but it's still, you know, these, don't get me wrong, these are the grunts. They're just on horses. So the javelin attack is nice, and particularly how, as we'll have mentioned, or will be mentioned, in melee, the javelin is nice as well.
Yeah, so going to the melee options, you got Barbarian Axe to 1-inch range, 2 attacks, 4s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage. You got the Marauder Javelin, 2-inch range, 1 attack, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, no rend, 1 damage. And the Barbarian Flail, 2-inch range again, 1 attack, 4s and 3s, -1 rend, 1 damage. Then you got your nice little added horse attack, 1 inch, 2 attacks, 4s and 4s, 1 damage. So the Javelin loses its rend in combat, but still 4s and 3s is not bad at all. The rest of them are kind of like on par with what you get on your foot, although the Flail always has its -1 rend rather than needing to be in a horde.
Yeah, I think, you know, we'll do, like, we'll get to this later, but already the Marauder Javelin is 100% the one I'm liking.
Yeah, definitely. And then you got your normal other descriptions of Horsemaster. 1 model in a unit can be a Horsemaster. Add 1 to the attack characteristic of the Horsemaster's melee weapon. So only in close combat.
Yeah, so that's something to bear in mind. And then the Icon Bearer and the Hornblower are just going to be exactly the same as the Marauders.
+1 to charge, -1 rend for the banner, and +1 to your running. Yeah, that's it. Nice one, bravery.
And then Mark of Chaos, obviously, which we covered with the Marauders, because practically every unit we're going to review now almost has the Mark of Chaos. We won't be explaining it every time. But yeah, pick what you want. But of course, it doesn't just mean your whole army has to be different models for different situations.
Yeah, definitely. And whether you're putting them in different groups or not, obviously you want a theme army, theme them all up, give them all the same mark, but you can also have a defensive as each unit that you're going to leave behind. You can have a Khorne offensive unit, a Nurgle offensive unit, Slanesh maybe for the Marauder Horsemen so they can run quicker. There's loads of options for them.
Yeah.
And going on to their last abilities, main abilities.
So we've got Barbarian Hordes, which starts off similar to what we saw for the normal orders, which is add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by this unit while it has at least 10 models. So similar to the Marauder one, but you don't get the extra end if you like. They're 10 models, so you need to not take minimum size. But what is the best thing about this ability is the fact that add 1 to hit rolls for attacks, not melee weapons, not the combat phase, so it will benefit your Marauder Javelin in the shooting phase, so it is now hitting on freeze.
Yeah, which is a very nice addition to your little bit of range that you have.
Exactly, it's definitely going to make it more reliable. And then the Darkwood Shields is add 1 to the save rolls, so the same as what we saw from the Marauders, but we're not. For me, anyway.
Which again, that pairs with the Javelin now, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, for me, I'm not comparing the Barbarian Flail. I'm not going to give them the Barbarian Flail with how I would run them. So it's just an added bonus. It's not like, oh, it's making me make the decision harder. It just made the decision easier. And then the what's that bloody word?
And then you got the last one, Feigned Flight. This unit can retreat and still shoot and or charge later in the same turn, which is just nice for them to get out of where you don't want them to be and go towards where you want them to be.
Exactly, and it's
while still being effective and not wasting a turn.
Yeah, this is going to be one of your tactical units.
Someone can pin these down and you can still do something.
Especially if you're taking bigger units in this, of Marauder Horsemen, not going minimum size. And because this is a tactical unit, it needs to be on the go. It needs to be getting to places. It needs to be running claim objectives, because like we said, it's one of the faster units in your army. And the other thing with it is it's really just indicating why you want to go with the Javelin, because it's going to encompass that as well. And the other thing is that something I looked at is if you were to go like Ruinbringer's Battalion, which is can include Marauder Horsemen, and essentially when they charge on top they do D3 mortal wounds. You can do sort of a charge and retreat thing while firing your javelins. You can make these guys a big pain in the ass to the enemy. Not a pain in the ass to say like, God, they're broken as fuck, but like a pain in the ass to go like, I don't really want to deal with them, but they're forcing me to have to.
Yeah, I personally like them for the idea of summoning from the Ravengers.
Yes.
Summoning them from the board and having a 12-inch range so they can still put out some damage the turn you bring them in. If your enemy is within 12 inches range, which is nice, rather than having a unit just sit there like bait.
Yeah.
Obviously, they can be still the bait, but dishing out a bit of damage as well is always nice.
Yeah, it's always nice. And like you say, as soon as they set up, they can start firing. As soon as they...
Yeah, it's a very cost-effective unit, I think.
Avengers. Yeah, they are very cost-effective. And like Marauders, they are also battle line if it's taken in a Slaves of Darkness army. So they work very... And they're very cost-effective. And I think quite cheap. Not in the way like, they need to be more points, but like, I don't know, Direwolves for Legions and Nagash. I don't think they need to be more points, but I just think they're very effective for what their job is and for how much points they cost. So yeah, great. And same base size. So keywords: Chaos, Mortal, Slaves of Darkness, Mark of Chaos, Chaos Marauder Horsemen. So yeah, very much a fan of those. And then going on to a unit that is also close to my heart is going to be the Chaos Warriors, which are minimum size unit of 5 for 90 points and a max size unit of 30 for 40 points. Yeah, let's go with that. So the lore for these guys is clad in Hellforge iron and swollen with dark blessings. Chaos Warriors are the bane of civilization. Entire legions of these armoured killers march into battle in the search of divine favour. Each warrior the equal of several lesser mortals. And because these guys are battle line for just generic chaos, to be fair, I did always wonder, like, if you were to take just like shit tons of these in your army. Like,
well, you fought against 30.
I fought against 30, but what about, I don't know, 3 blocks of 20? That'd be quite hard to shift. As we will go into, because a unit of Chaos Warriors has any number of models, obviously match play restrictions apply, each armed with one of the following weapon options: Chaos Hand Weapon and Chaos Rune Shield. I'm happy, I'll stop there, but I will continue reading the others. Chaos Hellbird and Chaos Rune Shield, Chaos Great Blade, or a pair of Chaos Hand Weapons. We'll go to the weapons in a second, but for the wheel stat, so we've got a 5-inch movement, a 4+ save, bravery 7, and 2 wounds. Suddenly a ramp up compared to what we saw for the others.
Yeah. They're clad in Hellforge iron. Definitely is happening here.
Yeah, it really does show, and obviously the more points per model, but like you're really getting that armored classic evil knight sort of vibe. So the weapons, so the melee weapons is firstly the Chaos Hand Weapon, or weapons depending if you go in dual. So this is a 1-inch range, 2 attacks, freeze to hit, freeze to wound, no rend, and 1 damage, which I believe before their battle tome was a 3 to hit and a 4 to wound. So they got better in that. And then you can give them the Chaos Hellbird, like we said. So this is a 2-inch range weapon, 2 attacks, freeze to hit, force wound, no rend, 1 damage. Or the Chaos Great Blade, 1-inch range, 2 attacks, force to hit, freeze wound, -1 rend, and 1 damage. What I firstly want to say with those weapon options is, so the Slaves of Darkness, if you're liking the range, you'll know that they got some new models, which was updated Chaos Warriors and updated Chaos Knights, which you can get from the Star Collecting Box, the new one that Games Workshop brought out. That's the only way currently to get those models, and I know time does changes. So the big thing here, though, is if you want to give your models the Chaos Hellbird or the Chaos Great Blade, you need to have the old models and buy the upgrade sprues separately. So the older Chaos Warrior models, which are still selling, and buy the upgrade sprues separately, or be happy to do some converting with the new models.
Yeah, that's the only downside when they kind of put them models out and keeping the rules with the Hellbirds and great weapons.
Yeah, I'd say it's more of a case of, if you're new, unless you really obviously want to do the Hellbird thing or the Chaos Great Blade thing, I wouldn't worry about it. Just go Chaos Hand Weapons. In all honesty, I think it's mainly for the Hellbird and Great Blade. Like it's obviously extra options, and that's always good. But I think it's mainly for people who already had models like that, and Games Workshop didn't really want to go, oh, your Great Blade? Yeah, just pretend he's holding a shield as well, and that Great Blade is a sword.
Yeah,
I think it was to not piss off those people, which is fair enough.
You never know. They might bring out another Chaos Warrior kit, where they actually have those options inside.
Maybe, because I think it's a while since I built the newer Chaos Warriors, but I think the shields are attached to the arm, are they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, because it's all easy to build kits. It's not as, you can customize them. It's not too difficult. but it's not as simple as I won't put the shield on, and I'll drill a hole through his through the middle of his hand and put a spear or a hellblade pike through it. It's gonna be a bit harder.
That's the only unfortunate thing with the weapon options there.
But what
in terms of stats, they're all good, I think.
But what I will say, and we'll get to this when we read the abilities, is so we said a few negative things, especially what I said for like one of my favourite units. It's hard to build them stuff. To be honest, the way they come in the Start Collecting box, the way the new ones are built, that is how I've always run Chaos Warriors and how I personally think is the best way. So if Games Workshop was to say, right, you can build these guys in 3 ways, but we're going to make that only one, they picked the right one. Oh, to be honest, 4 ways. They picked the right one because obviously dual weapons. So we'll get to that in a moment. But going on to continue the description really for some abilities. So firstly, the champion's already sounding better. Inspiring champion. So one model in this unit is an inspiring champion. Add 1 to the attack characteristics of that model's melee weapons. And then we've got the standard bearer. So this is different to the Marauders one, as it's actually going to add 1 to your bravery characteristic, which sounds a bit plain, but is very, very good.
You're up at bravery 8, which is
bravery.
Nice.
There's been loads of times, hasn't there, with like either I'm wielding variety of death armies, Jamie, and I've fought against you, and I'll go, what's your bravery? And you'll go, well, it's normally 7, but because there's a banner, there's 8, and then automatically whatever ability I wanted to do against you just isn't going to work.
Yeah, I think that bravery actually gone up from the last time.
I think it was 6, and then with the banner it was a 7. So
But that's another thing to remember. The new Start Collecting box does not have a banner.
Yeah, but all you got to do is just cut one of the swords off or whatever, and just like I almost gave an example for the Hellbird, just drill a hole through the hand if you want to, and then put a metal rod there and make a banner, or literally just go right, cut the top of the sword off, you might not even need to cut the bottom of the sword off if it goes quite far away down. Or actually, what's the best example? There's probably an axe, isn't there, where someone's holding the axe quite high up the handle, and then
you got quite a few hobby conversion ideas they can do.
All you need to do
some of them not hard. You can just get the old.
Just cut the head off the weapon and stick a bloody top of a banner there.
You got your normal hornblower. Add 1 to run and charge.
Yep.
Nice. And then you got your Mark of Chaos, like all the others. Theme them how you wish, or depending on what abilities you're after. And then for the main abilities, Chaos Rune Shields. This is why having the Rune Shield, I believe, is always your kind of like go-to. Roll a dice each time you allocate a mortal wound to the unit that carries Chaos Rune Shields. On a 5+, that mortal wound is negated.
Yeah.
It's good to have a mortal wound save these days.
Especially on a 5+. Because bear in mind where there were certain circumstances where things would have a 6+ and then a 6+. They would stack these very minimal mortal wound saves off each other. You only get 1 now. So having a 1 where just a third of all the mortal wounds is ignored, very nice. Especially how, as with each Battle Tome comes out, more things get more powerful, and it seems there's always more ways for mortal wounds to happen. Slaves of Darkness Rune Shields are a very nice addition to the army.
Yeah, it's always good to have at least a save.
And that's why it ties in lovely into the next ability, Legions of Chaos, which is you can reroll save rolls for attacks that target this unit while it has at least 10 models. So you can already see this is a defensive unit. It's got better saves by far compared to the Marauder unit. With a 4+, it's then, if you've got at least 10 models in this unit, it's re-rolling those save rolls. So you can see why me and Jamie are saying that the Chaos Rune Shields, to make them even more defensive, is the way to go. This is more of an anvil unit.
Yeah, and the other one, if you want to make them a bit offensive, obviously you got the other 2 weapon choices, but paired Chaos hand weapons, you can reroll hit rolls for attacks made with a pair of Chaos hand weapons. So if you want them to go a bit more offensive, You can. Alright. You can have double chaos hand weapons and you're hitting on threes, winning on threes. Re-rolling your failed hits. That's not bad.
No, it's not bad. It really depends what you want to do.
But like we've said with like the Marauders, if you look at the Marauders and go across their stats, it kind of signifies to try and do damage.
Yeah.
When you go for the Chaos Warrior stats, it's all about, for me personally, I look at it and think, they don't want to move for the objective, and that's what you want them to do. They're not, by their stats, they're not going to be slaughtering things. They put out decent damage, but I think the main idea is you want to build this into a tank unit to soak up whatever damage your opponent tries to throw at you. You put these guys on the objective, and they stay there.
Definitely. And like if you also go, think of, is there anything else these guys can ignore damage wise or debuff wise? If you want to go, what is it, Zeech, and if they're in range of your general, they're also ignoring spells on a 5-up.
Yeah, just to make them that more annoying. And if the spell does go through and it does D3 more wounds, well, they got a 5-up save to ignore the more wounds as well.
Yeah, it's they really are good. In my opinion, what I will also say is on the internet, people are just saying, why would you take these guys? Marauders are a lot better. Like we say, they do different jobs, and by God, they look better.
Oh yeah, the old ones, they have a nice old look.
They've aged well.
I quite like the regiment kind of look. But the new ones, they just blew me away when I saw them.
Yeah, they are. It was one of those. Where was I? I was at Blood and Glory, the Age Sigmar tournament last year in November, I want to say, October, and it's where they did the big reveal of Slaves to Darkness. And all I can say is when I was in the hall of where they had the presentation and they revealed them on the screen and there was the trailer, everyone was just in like awe with them. And when they showed off the Lord Carcatrak before they showed his War Scroll, everyone was like, what the fuck is that thing? I want it. And this Start Collecting box was probably and potentially the first one I pre-ordered off the bat. Like it was like I needed it.
Yes.
I've only painted one of the goddamn models from it, but I needed it.
Yeah, the Chaos Warriors all have their own little character.
And I think what they do a fantastic job with this model update. And bear in mind, this model update is one hero and knights and warriors that you can't currently buy separately. But
or multi. They're not multi-build.
They're not multi-build.
Like you kind of said earlier. Although they're all easy build, they are great models. It'll take minimum effort to convert some. If you want to buy them and have these as your battle line in like a unit of 20, there's definitely ways you can convert it. It's not too difficult.
Yeah. What I would say though is, they're not multi-build, but I think fair enough for me anyway. They come with the best build.
They're all very good. Yeah.
And I think what they've done a very good job with is the aesthetic. If you have these Chaos Warriors mixed into your old Chaos Warriors, will they look a little bit tiny bit different? Of course they will, because the old ones are more regimented. But scale-wise, all it really looks like is amongst these, these legion of Chaos Warriors, there's a few, interesting characters. Like they're all armored the same and stuff, but someone may just have, the fur of a beast or something over his head, and it just gives. When you have a block of 15 of these guys or something, it really just adds in a more diversity, I think, in how the models look.
Yeah, because buying that new box, I now have 40 Chaos Warriors. 30. Well, actually, no, I have 42
Because you
Chaos
can,
Warriors.
thanks to some Blood Warriors.
Yeah.
And also a character, Stormcast one, wasn't it? I have. I remember buying a load of the old ones. I have the 10 new one. I've got 15 of the old ones built, so that's 25. And then I reckon I have another 10 somewhere. So I would say I have 35 to 40 of these guys. And I honestly think having 40 of them on a tape, it looked fantastic.
Yeah, and the old kits, you get a lot of extras as well. Lots of good extra bits.
Oh yeah, like especially for an army such as Slaves of Darkness that allows us so much customization, rules wise and hobby wise. Loads of bits you can do with things, and yeah, I just wanted to give the model team a great job of making new models fit with the old, because sometimes the new models make the old models just look completely redundant. So they've done a good job there, and like I say, they're not the best war scroll in the book, but they have got better. If you haven't played Slaves of Darkness since this new book came out, their reroll and saves has got better because it was reroll, save rolls, and 1. They've got +1 to wound with their Chaos hand weapons, and they have got +1 bravery, plus whatever mark of chaos they get.
Yeah, plus with the new auras and that.
Yeah, like if you want to go,
Makes them really good.
Yeah,
and the rest of the unit in terms of just synergy in this book is just a lot better. I ran Slaves of Darkness mixed in with my Khorne before this book, and they didn't work as well as what they do now.
Yeah, they can really help out when some of the other armies do struggle a bit. And yeah, I know we talk about Chaos Warriors for a while now, but I really like them. I think they're really cool, and it's, obviously you can say like, Archaon draw you towards the army or something, but I think when we all saw our first Chaos Warrior, that just the aesthetic of that, like I said, that armored dark knight, it's great, and the fact that their rules are pretty good as well makes it even better. So with that, the keywords are Chaos, Mortal, Slaves of Darkness, Mark of Chaos, and Chaos Warriors. So I think I am going to try and see how many of these bastards I can put into a list.
A tank list.
Yeah, I reckon it'll be quite fun. To be fair though, if you go Nurgle, they can do 2 damage, obviously, if you get the 6s to wound. And you can make them reroll everything with a sorcerer spell, so I think they could do well. But, if we're talking about most competitively, Marauders is a better pick, but it depends what you're trying to do. Like you can't just have everything in your arm and be Marauders. You need to have something to hold objectives, and I think these guys do that job well.
Yeah. I think they're one of the top in the book to hold an objective.
Yeah, and they're models you want in your army too. So the next unit we're going to look at is going to be the Chaos Chosen, which are obviously going to be a bit bigger and a bit tougher compared to the Chaos Warriors. These are truly the chosen of the gods. So a little bit of lore for them is: devotees of chaos who garner many dark rewards may rise to the ranks of the chosen. Armed with wicked soul-cleaving blades, these champions fight at the forefront of the chaotic hordes, inspiring their brethren through acts of brutal violence. Now, what I want to say about these guys firstly is they're going to cost us 140 points. They're not battle line, and they do not get any discount for taking a max size unit. And I also want to hand this unit over to Jamie, as you have actually used this unit a few times, haven't you, during our games?
Yeah, I must say these are one of my favourite units from the book, for definite. They are really fun to play. We're starting off with their wheel movement 6. So they're an inch quicker than Chaos Warriors on foot, which is nice. They have 2 wounds, 4+ save, which is still strong, and bravery 7. Very solid stats there.
Yeah, it's a nice solid start. And then so the descriptions say a unit of Chaos Chosen has any number of models, each armed with a Soul Splitter. So that's their melee weapon. So
And they've only got one mini weapon,
yeah,
and that is the Soul Splitter. I suppose the only unfortunate thing when we go through its stats: range 1, attacks 3, 3+ to hit, 3+ to wound, -1 rend, 1 damage. It's a shame that their big axe hasn't got 2-inch.
Yep.
But that's just here and there. 3 attacks is solid per warrior, and then nice elite stats: 3s and 3s, -1 damage. Obviously, the damage you can try and up with Nurgle.
You can. I mean, like saying that. I mean, like I said throughout this video, is that like I'm obviously very strong with Slaanesh, that's how I'm feeding my army. But I'd say more recently, when I've been looking at Slays of Darkness, I'm really favouring Khorne, because you could have, like, just take one of these 3 attacks, 3s to hit, re-rolling 1, wounded on 2s, -1 rend, 1 damage. There's ways to get re-rolls for those wounds. There's ways to increase your re-rolls for hits. Like, I'm feeling like Khorne is like, so many of these units get better as soon as you put them with Khorne. Like, and I know, like, Nurgle.
I've tried them out as both.
Yeah.
I've tried them, done a battle with Khorne, very solid, like you say. Rerolls 1s to hit, +1 to wound if you're in range of your general. Then you got the -1 rend and the 1 damage. You can bring in a Khorne ally to give them +1 attack again, because you can give them the Khorne keyword.
Yep.
But then also run them as Nurgle, where you can, on the 6s to wound, up in their damage to 2, which with their -1 rend is very solid. Because the amount, if you roll quite a few 6s, all 2 damage, that's quite a good amount of damage output you're putting through.
It really is. I think for me that, like, Nurgle is a very easy sort of, you look at it and you think, yeah, obviously making these guys damage 2 potentially is very strong. But what I like about with Khorne, it's just with Nurgle, like, you have to get 6s, and to be honest, you're making a lot of attacks, so you will get those 6s. But I think with Khorne, you're straight away going to be benefiting from the buff, because you're bound to roll a few 1s, and you're bound to roll a few 2s for your wounding. But no, yeah. So there's lots of options we can take with these. So going into, like, the rest of the description, like the abilities, we have the Exalted Champion. So 1 model in this unit can be an Exalted Champion. Add 1 to the attack characteristics of that model's melee weapons. It's all very standard. Like we say, it's nice it's not +1 to wound, so you don't have to roll it differently or something.
Yeah, an extra attack is always better.
Yeah, definitely. And then we've got the Icon Bearer. So 1 in every 5 models in this unit can be Icon Bearer. Subtract 1 from the bravery characteristics of enemy units while they are within 6 inches of any friendly Icon Bearer. So it's something that we've seen a little bit repeated. The Skull Drummer. So 1 in every 5 models in this unit can be a Skull Drummer. Add 1 to run and charge rolls for this unit while it includes any Skull Drummers. Again, we've been seeing that a lot, but it generally is great adding 1 to those run and charge rolls. Again, that means that you can't charge 13 inches unless it specifically states that you have an ability that can do that, but it means that it's easy to get the 12, or the other alternative is you're never going to fail that 3-inch charge. And then the Mark of Chaos. So again, you can give these guys a mark, and that can be Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, Slaanesh, or Undivided. And then going into the proper abilities, Jamie, do you want to take us through those? Because, like I say, you have used these.
Yeah, so you have two special abilities. One is the Slaughter Leaders. So unlike their lore saying about them fighting on the first line, this is kind of like the ability that goes along with that. If a model from this unit makes an attack that slays 1 or more enemy models, after all this unit's attacks have been resolved, you can re-roll wound rolls for attacks made by friendly mortal slain to darkness units wholly within 12 of any friendly units with this ability until your next hero phase. So if you choose these to go first, you kill something, these are pretty much bound to kill something. And you got the Chaos Warrior unit nearby. You're now rerolling all failed wounds for that Chaos Warrior unit.
Yeah.
So they like inspire your warriors to do better, which is a solid ability. I'd say it's a little bit of the more niche of these two abilities. The second one is the better one.
Is that because I was going to say, is that because of the range? You're saying it's more niche.
Well, it's just the fact of you're going to have to get this off the ability of you're then running your chosen with a unit of Chaos Warriors. Obviously, that might be beneficial to you, but other times you might be using your Chaos Warriors, or you might not even have that many Chaos Warriors in your army.
Doesn't have to be Chaos Warriors though, does it? It could be anything that's mortal, slaves to darkness. So like,
yeah, if you can run them up with
an obvious thing I'm going to say,
like knights would be pretty good.
You've got knights, and the other thing is that these guys, to make sure they get their Chaos Aura bonus from a hero, they're going to be wholly within 12 inches of that hero, more than likely, unless it's the bigger aura they're benefiting from a general. So if they're benefiting from just a normal hero with a 12-inch bubble, that hero is going to benefit from this, unless it's a Demon Prince or something. You know, if it's a Chaos Lord,
your good old Manticore or
Carcadrak, yeah, and re-rolling those wound rolls, really good. Especially like we said, there's many auras you can go for. If you're Nurgle, of course you want to re-roll those wound rolls. If you're
definitely for Nurgle.
Exactly. If you're Khorne, a lot of things in this book become wounding on 2s. Now of course, that's just re-rolling 1s, but now that's just going to guarantee so many more through. So it really is quite good. And then,
it does mean you kind of have to pick these first, but it can easily if say like you're saying good back, or you're kind of like Manticore, it's like tagged on the end. He's not going to take much damage. Doesn't go first. That's going to be fine. It just helps him do even more damage for your general, or like you say, heroes running up with him.
And because this is a unit, the size of your aura, that 12-inch, can be quite big.
Yeah, depending on the size you're going to run.
Yeah, and then I know you're going to get to the Soul Splitter.
The Soul Splitter. This is what makes them one of my favourites to include in my army. The Soul Splitter ability, if the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with the Soul Splitter is a 6, that attack inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to any normal damage. Mortal wounds are just a great damage in Age of Sigmar.
They really are.
Not many armies can. Well, yeah. If they do, this is instant. So it just straight up, they've got to make so many saves before you even get down to your wounds, and they're making normal saves.
Well, I know, like when you use these guys against me, I think quite often it's against my death armies or something. And I'm already looking at the stack of save rolls I'm going to have to make anyway, and then I roll them and allocate the damage, whatever, and then you remind me that you also have like these, I don't know, 5 mortal wounds you've taken as well, and it's just like, okay, like like the extra thing on top.
Yeah, and it's great to take down those high save armies, and like I think when we played, you had your Mortek Guard.
Yep.
Standard 3-up save, and it's like you start chucking mortal wounds at them, and
this was back in the day where the Petra Elite had the 3-up save, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Reroll and all fails. Yeah, and it's like you. So it shows that sometimes you don't always think about putting mortal wound like output into your list, but until you come across that, or like a very good Stormcast army as an example, you really do need to have some sort of mortal wound output. And these guys, with the quantity of attacks, even you take 5 of these guys, that's 15 attacks, or 16 because you've got the champion.
Yeah, which is sort of 5 models.
Yeah, it's definitely good. And then keywords they've got is Chaos Mortal, Slaves of Darkness, Mark of Chaos, and Chaos Chosen. What I do like this unit. I think it's good. I'll be honest. Like I said, I haven't actually used them myself. I've got a conversion planned up, so I will be using them at some point. But I think what would have made them really good is just given that 2-inch range on their weapon. If I could be really fussy, 2-inch range and 2 damage, or maybe a 3-up save, but a 2-inch range would have hit that sweet spot really well, I think.
Yeah. I suppose it comes down to, like you say, a 3-up save would have been nice for them to be a bit more tanky. 4-up save is obviously nice. But yeah, they definitely have all the cards to be good. But they could have made them maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, they could have done. But they're still good. I've heard people say quite negative things about Chosen, but I still think they're definitely a valid option. But I just think the 2-inch range would have been very nice. If
I've run a unit of 10, and sometimes a 2-inch range would definitely help. But having 10 of them, they do delete units quite efficiently.
Yeah, and they are like just thing to bear in mind is that, obviously they're very damage dealing, but they are movement 6. So it's not the slowest, but it's not the fastest. What I also would have liked is from myself, I play quite a bit of like Warhammer Total War as an example, and on that you can have Chaos Chosen. You can give them either Hellbirds, Great Weapons, which I presume is the Soul Splitter. That would be the sort of Great Weapon. And then you can give them shields. So it would just be interesting to see if there was variety in weapon options for them. But obviously that would have to come in terms of a new kit, and we haven't got a new kit. But it's something that maybe we should see in the future.
Have a little quick touch on that. It would have been nice when they'd done this book if they got a new kit, and with those kind of options that you just said, because their kit, I bought it. They got 2 kits. They got a command set and a normal set. I bought the normal set, and obviously we all kind of know GW's resin kind of.
What's it called? Failcast, isn't it?
There are issues. I would definitely suggest to all players out there, really, unless you're quite not so much busy, but you're not too bothered and you like to sculpt, buy them. But I made my own. Yeah. It do look better.
If you're wondering how am I going to make my own, it's butcher some Stormcast. Or all that me and Jamie asked for is that you remove all the Stormcast symbols. Like if there's a bloody hammer on it, do not leave it. Like scrape that fucker off. Don't go, it's got a hammer there because like that's like his second favourite weapon to use. What, the lightning bolts? What do they mean then? Like, I'll be honest, as someone who's done quite a lot of converting with the Stormcast mods into Chaos lately, the Slaves of Darkness, in fact, there is there's the hammer symbols and there's like lions and stuff. Get rid of those. But there are like on like the newer models, I think there's like on the Sacrosanct Chamber, whatever it's called, there's like 3 like arrows or 3 spikes in a row. I generally keep those because I feel like that's chaosy enough. But everything else gone. Get rid of. To be honest, the normal chosen models I don't really mind too much. They look a little bit old, but it's like when you look at the command set or something.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. You're Smash. I'm not a fan of crab claws. Corn does not want crab claws in his army.
Just the scorpion tails.
Yeah, it's got scorpion tails, alright.
Yeah.
Don't want no scorpion claws or crab claws. We all go for just big hulking brutes carrying axes.
Yeah, well, and there you go, isn't it? At the end of the day. Last thing to say also, if you want to buy this unit, you don't get the command set with the normal set. I know it's annoying, isn't it? So you have to buy separate boxes to be able to make a complete unit of these guys. But convert your own. There you go. There's my advice. Cool. So that is the Chaos Chosen. And then the next unit we're going to look at is going to be Chaos Knights. I'm just going to remind myself the points are 160 points for 5 of these guys. Which
Yeah,
is
5 is the standard.
And so, a little bit about the lore for them. So, the coming of the Chaos Knights heralds the death of empires. These dreaded champions charge fearlessly into the deadliest of battles, striking down foes all around them with sundering blows from their enscrolled weapons. Enscrolled weapon / cursed lance / cursed flail / trampling hooves. I'd like to add. But this is a unit which... I think I can say this. Me and you, we both like Chaos Knights, don't we? We both like Chaos Warriors. And to be honest, anything that's incredibly armoured and it's Chaos, I'm generally a fan as long as it's not Nurgle. So, yeah.
Yeah, more Hulk, the hulking look.
Yeah, it's a Dark Knight, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, this unit, and also in the new book. Well, I say the new book, it's about a year old now, but they got better. So they got a 10-inch movement, a 4+ save, a bravery 7, and 3 wounds, which for cavalry is a good standard stat. You know, these guys aren't Dracofs or anything, so having 3 wounds is nice, and 4+ save is pretty good as well. And then we've got a description. So a unit of Chaos Knights has any number of models, each armed with one of the following weapon options: Enscrolled Weapon and Chaos Rune Shield, or Chaos Lance and Chaos Rune Shield. So going into those melee weapons now. So firstly, Enscrolled Weapons. So this is a 1-inch range, 3 attacks, freeze to hit, freeze to wound, -1 rend, 1 damage. Not bad. The Cursed Lance, 2-inch range, 2 attacks, force to hit, freeze to wound, no rend, and 1 damage. Doesn't sound great. It's my favourite, but we'll get to that in a second. The Cursed Flail, which essentially you can just give to the leader of the unit. 2-inch range, D6 attacks, force to hit, freeze to wound, no rend, and 1 damage. Just pretend you never heard that, because you won't need to retain that information. And then the Trampling Hooves attack, which is the best in my opinion.
Always the best for cavalry.
It always picks you up. Whatever your riders are attacking or swinging with will fail, but the cavalry will always kick the enemy when they're down. So 1-inch range, 2 attacks, force hit, force wound, no rend, and 1 damage. So now that I've read them all out, why do we think the Cursed Lance is the best one? And I know we haven't actually talked about this, but I presume you're going to agree with me. Are you?
Well, both of us, we always go for the Hail Mary, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Charge.
Yeah.
There is the ability that reflects my defense of why the Cursed Lance is the best. Which, I'll be honest, let's go through the abilities now, shall we? And then we'll...
Yeah, it goes on to the weapons. So you got your Doom Knight. The Doom Knight is obviously your leader, but one model in this unit can be a Doom Knight. Add 1 to attack characteristics of the model's melee weapon. Standard. But then, in addition, that model can replace its weapon option with a Cursed Flail and Chaos Rune Shield. So now let's really go over the Cursed Flail. It's rubbish.
Yeah,
I have no idea why they put this on. It looks cool. Definitely looks cool in the new kit.
I was just going to say, the strength is you get a free flail with the kit. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Like to use for any other model for a conversion.
If you're a con player, use that flail to convert your own extra slaughter priest with the hack blade and flail. There you go.
They put it in as a little Easter egg. There we go. So we got
D6 attacks, 4s and 3s. It's not even better than the ensorcelled weapon.
I'll be honest, even if it was 6 attacks, I still probably wouldn't take it.
It's got no rend. It does 1 damage. D6 attacks, you can whiff it and just get 1. Yeah, he's the Doom Knight, so you can have +1. So you're only going to have minimum 2, but it's still going to be 4s, 3s, no rend, 1 damage. Just give him either the spear, or the lance, or the ensorcelled weapon.
I'd rather have an extra trampling hoof attack, I reckon. But yeah, use the flail for something else. So we've got the standard bearer. So 1 in every 5 models in this unit can be a standard bearer. Add 1 to the bravery characteristic of this unit while it includes any standard bearers. So
from pretty much all the other banners in the army.
yeah, like we saw like the Chosen, which are a little bit different because they got like the -1 bravery buff, will debuff, but it's like the knights. It's like you say, it's like most of the banners. So yeah, it makes the bravery 8. So that's pretty cool. The Hornblower, like all the other ones, add 1 to run and charge rolls. Very good. Especially you want to get these guys into charge, so we need that. They're not Marauders that basically you don't need to roll any dice. It's like playing Zeech at that point, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then Mark of Chaos, so you can give these guys the Khorne, Zeech, Nurgle, Slanesh, or Undivided keyword for the aura abilities, of course. And then the proper abilities, Chaos Rune Shield, which is like the Chaos Warrior one. Every time you take a mortal wound, roll a dice, and a 5-up, you ignore it.
Yeah, solid.
And exactly that.
The Chaos Warriors, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know that's an ability that we can easily just like read past stuff. Honestly, can't underestimate how useful that is. Like that is such a solid one.
And then the main thing for the Lances, the Impaling Charge. Add 1 to the damage characteristic and improve the rend characteristic of this unit's Cursed Lances by 2 if it's made a charge move in the same turn.
Yes.
So now go back to the weapons. We've got the ensorcelled weapon, 3 attacks, freeze to hit, freeze to wound, -1 rend, 1 damage. Where you go with the Lance, 2-inch range, so you can try and run bigger units.
Yep.
2 attacks, falls to hit, freeze to wound, -2 rend on the charge, and 2 damage on the charge.
Which is
and we're all about the damage.
Yeah, well, it's anything to make that damage high. You know, it's almost like, you know, crack cocaine, just to get that sweet bit of high damage. Lovely. It's not 40k. The damage does carry over. So it really is great. Also, I just want to say another few things about the Cursed Lance. If you want to buy the new Knights, it's what comes in the box, in the big Start Collector box. So if you want Inscrolled Weapons, convert it yourself. Which is fine, to be honest, because I know like some people weren't happy that it was easy to build, and we've already had this conversation with the Chaos Warriors, so I won't go on to that again. But it's given me my preferred option, so I'm loving it. It's great. If you want to give these guys a banner, because you don't get a banner with the new Knights, just clip the top off the spear and chuck a banner there. Done. A lance makes the pole of a lance is like pretty much a pole of a standard, so you're fine. And yeah, with so even you take a unit of 5 of these guys, that is, what's that, 11 attacks, because you've got the champion, or the Doom Knight even, and that's 11 attacks, force hit, freeze the wound, no rend, and 1 damage on the charge. You get the -2 rend and the 2 damage. And bear in mind, that's not including the Nurgle buff you could get, or the Khorne buff, or the Slanesh buff. You can really stack this up nicely.
And you got the spell from the Sorcerer,
yep,
where you reroll all failed hits or failed wounds. So if you're worried about that 4 plus the hit, I've got abilities to help with that. I think the Chaos Sorcerer, he has a spell perfect for these guys before you charge them in. If you want, we both prefer the Lance. We both prefer always trying to get the charge.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are that kind of player who's more, you want constant kind of sustain. Sorts of weapons are a good thing with freeze and freeze. A constant -1 rend and 1 damage.
Yeah, because you are right. Because the negative with the Lance, because that is our favourite, but our honest here, we do talk about the negative. If you give these guys Lances, whatever they're going to charge, unless there's you've got a plan behind it, or there's some other reason, you need them to wipe out whatever they're charging that turn. Because as soon as these guys get stuck in combat, and they're fighting in a turn they didn't charge, their attacks incredibly diminish. It's almost like if you look at a monster that's very strong, but you put it on its last legs on its damage table. You're going two attacks with the force hit, freeze wound, no render, 1 down. It's not going to be enough.
No.
can't get these guys stuck in combat unless there's like some sort of specific reason behind it, like you just want the numbers on an objective or something. They can hold their own in combat. Like they've got their save against mortal wounds and they've got a 4-up save, but they're not going to do a lot of damage back. Like so, end-scrolled weapons would be your preferred choice if you want to play a little bit safe, or you just know in your local gaming meta, let's say. You fight against a lot of alpha striking armies where you're probably not going to stand much of a chance of getting that charge. So yeah, there are different reasons, but there is no reason to take the flip. Absolutely none. Now you could say, what happens if I get 6 attacks and then I get all my hits, I get all my wounds, and I'm Nurgle and I got 6 sixes to wound? Then that's 12 damage. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. Jamie here, I think it was on camera on the channel. He got incredibly lucky with his wounding with his knights once. Didn't you roll like 11 attacks or something, and you got 7 sixes or something like
It was very good.
that? To win, yeah, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was. You're just like, it was mediocre. It's not my best roll.
It's not the best roll. There was one non-6 there, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was. I remember seeing that. It's like that's 14 damage, and it's like, Jesus Christ, I did not see that coming. But especially how you can, like we talked about all the different spells in the other video, so you can make the unit these guys are charging attack last if you get that spell off, so then you can focus on other stuff. So you can definitely get your damage through on these guys. What I would say is that I'm a person who wants to try out a unit of 10 knights. I did it before this book, and it didn't work because I think before this battle tome, Chaos Knights, even with the Lancers, had a 1-inch range. So a unit of 10, because their bases are big, they're as big as Varanguard bases, it's hard to get them all in. But now with a 2-inch range, I want to test a unit of 10 because I want to see how it could do. But I think ultimately, units of 5 are the way to go. Just because one of the things that's great for the Chaos Knights is the Ruinbringers Battalion, which is the one where they get the impact D3 mortal wounds on the charge if you roll 2 up, I think it is, and you need to take quite a few units. So you sort of encourage, if you want to go like the all sort of like cavalry army, you're encouraged to take more smaller units of knights. And also if you want to go in scrolled weapons, there's no point taking a unit bigger than 5. But yeah, I also think let's say if you could have a unit of 10 knights in your army or 2 units of 5 in your army. 2 units of 5, because also 2 threats for the enemy to deal with. Like, could be on each flank, you've got a unit of 5 of these. The enemy's going to have to deal with these guys just because of how much damage they can do on the charge with the Cursed Lance. And so, like I say, that's 2 threats they have to deal with. Also, if you made them just one big unit of 10, the enemy could more easily just debuff you. So,
yeah, I do. With like you say, with their big base, they got quite the bigger end of bases.
Yeah,
for the cavalry. Now you do want them not to be pinned down, especially if you did run a unit of 10, just got to be aware of that.
I'd even say
the unit of 5s moving around is a little better.
I'd even say the 2-inch range on the Lance, it's even useful just for the unit of 5 because there's going to be some times where it's going to be hard to pile them all in. So yeah, that's good. And then there was actually one more ability to mention for these guys, which is Terrifying Champion, which is subtract 1 from the bravery characteristic of enemy units within 3 inches of any friendly units with this ability in the battleship phase, because again, these are the bringers of the apocalypse, apparently. So I think that's cool. And like we have already mentioned this a bit, but if you do want to do a bit of a bravery bomb this army, you can. Me and Jamie sort of are a bit courage away from that at the moment, just because bravery's not massive at the moment. But when bravery becomes important again, who knows, when Age of Sigmar 3rd edition drops, they could just go, drop a massive bomb on our perception of bravery and just make it hugely important. So that's another way to stack up.
Right, seeing that ability and going across the Chosen as well. It is a passive ability, so it's not like something that you're generally maybe building to unless you're giving your heroes command traits to -1 bravery. It is just something to take note of, that your Chaos Warriors are given -1, your Knights are given -1 in the Battleshot phase, the Chosen are given -1. So it does generally stack up as a passive ability to be aware of, shall we say.
Yeah, don't don't forget about it, because there's been. I think we all have a sort of a situation like this where Battleshock's been done. You're halfway through the next turn, and you go like, "Oh, I could have made them -1." It's like I could have made like another ogre run away or something, you know. So it can be very useful, but and I think it's like we say at the moment, Battleshock's not hugely crucial, which only means in the future it's going to get crucial again. It's not going to get less. So it will be important to note this. Like someone could be watching this, and this could a year later from now, so it could be useful. And then keywords they've got is Chaos Mortal, Slates of Darkness, Mark of Chaos, and Chaos Knights. I really like these guys. I think for 160 points, solid. In all honesty, I know like you can. There's how much like Morza Guard, for example.
Yeah.
I know like you can do like comparisons there. Like the eels are very good, but like if we take like, but the eels are known for being, you know, very good. Let's just say. So for a standard cavalry unit for 160 points, solid. Like it's hard to fault these guys.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, if you're nitpicking with the amount of armor they're wearing, a 3+ save would have been nice.
But then a take away from the Varanguard, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
I say make this guy's 2-up save, but I don't make the rules.
We'll
Make
get
them a
to
2-up
the
save and I'll
Varanguard
paint them.
We'll get to the Varanguard at some point.
Yeah, and I've actually the Chaos Knights because if you guys have probably recently seen that I've uploaded video of my Centaur Knights. I've done a conversion off for Sinesh. Very happy with those, but I have got 5 of the new ones built from my Start Collecting box when I bought early in the year. So I am looking forward to getting around to painting these guys, because me and you will just agree that the new Chaos Warriors, like we've already mentioned, but in particular the new Chaos Knights, model-wise, stunning. Like, I honestly could talk about these guys for hours. They're lovely.
Yeah, amazing sculpts.
Yeah, and it really nicely ties in with the old Chaos Knights. Like you can mix them up. It doesn't feel bad, which is designer-wise, yeah, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, those are the Chaos Knights. So the next thing we're going to look at is going to be sort of the chariots, and the first one's going to be a standard Chaos Chariot. So that's the one pulled by the horses and not the Gorebeast, which is 120 points. I'm pretty sure I know that off by heart because I've been trying like hell to fit this into my list because I've recently again done a conversion. So yeah, I basically made conversions of things I think are cool rather than let's read the War Scroll first. But Chaos Chariots have got better in the new book. I do think they've gone up in points as well, but they have got better. And something I just want to say is, like, when we've been talking about things, and we haven't really been saying many things that are under point costed. The good thing about having units that are pointed quite fairly, or maybe a little bit too high, is it means if anything they're just going to come down in points. You know, it'll be annoying if you had like let's look at Heed Knights of Slanesh, yeah, where I know me and you don't really play the army, but imagine having that army. And you didn't want to be broken and go through all the keepers and everything. Just generally wanted to play the army. And then for the next like 2 or 3 years, your army just keeps on going up in points. It's not a very good feeling. So it's nice to Slates of Darkness. With any points changes, it'll probably come down.
You would hope so.
Yeah.
You'd hope that does.
And that's kind of a situation with the Chaos Chariot. We haven't read it yet, but I just wanted to say I think this will come down at some point in points. Because 120... You can try it out in your list, but it takes up a lot of points. And in Slaves of Darkness, from what we've mentioned already, points are incredibly valued because there's so much you can do with this army, but you only have so many points for your list. So with that, let's have a look at its lore. So swift Chaos Chariots thunder across the plains, hunting for fresh prey. Drawn by corrupted steeds, the momentum of these constructs is a weapon of its own, and the charioteers take dark pleasure in crushing enemies beneath their heavy wheels. So, it has a movement of 12, which is fast, a save of 4+, bravery 6, and wounds of 7. So the lowest thing there I'd say is the bravery, but as you're probably not going to be taking really multiple units of this, like multiple model units, shouldn't be too much of a problem. And then the description, so a unit of Chaos Chariots has any number of models, each armed with one of the following weapon options: Chaos Great Blade and Lash and Whip, or Chaos Warflail and Lash and Whip. So, do you want to take us through the melee weapons then, Jamie?
So, starting off with the Lash and Whip. You've got 2-inch range, 2 attacks, 4s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage. You've got the Chaos Great. So this is where you get the choice for the second guy.
And before we ruin anything, take this one.
The Chaos Great Blade, 2-inch range, 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage. Or he can have the Chaos Warflower, 2-inch range, D6 attacks, 4s and 3s, no rend, 1 damage. Then you got your good old Trampling Hoofs attack from the horses, 1 inch, 4 attacks, 4s and 4s, no rend, 1 damage. So, go straight into the Exalted Charioteer. No, not Exalted Charioteer, it is a Exalted Charioteer. You get +1 attack for the Exalted Charioteer, which you really want to be having on that Great Blade.
Yes, there is a condition with this though, what's been FAQ'd. You need to have at least 2 chariots in a unit to make one an Exalted Charioteer.
That does kind of
Suck.
gives you a little kick in the balls.
Yep. That's
You
something
know,
I read
but-
after I built one. Paid one. Oh yeah, because that
But-
makes it.
Even still, you're still picking the Great Blade.
Yeah.
I really struggle to.
Look, Jamie,
It does
we've
seem
already
to be
been
no
through this.
comparison.
You're already 2 free war flails up to use for something else. How many slaughter priests do you want, Jamie?
The thing about this flail, it's not really a flail. It's a little chain with 3 little balls on it.
Yeah.
Not very intimidating for chaos, I must say.
It's like the Charioteer's whip is more frightening, or more enticing depending on what gods you favour. But yeah,
But yeah, get those weapons.
it's just like
In my eyes, anyway, it's not a comparison. I'd rather have 2 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, and 2 damage.
it's like I could name 3 things I like about it. Well, okay, I can name 2 things I like about it over the other one. Hits on a 3, and it has -1 rend. Like, you could maybe argue, like, with the Chaos Warflail, you have more attack, so the 2 damage compared to the 1 damage isn't a big thing, but actually, fuck it, I'll give it 3 benefits. It hits on a 3, has rend, and there's 2 damage. Like, if the Warflail hit on a 3, and the Great Blade hit on a 4, maybe there'll be more consideration, but probably still not. It's...
Yeah. I like all the
reckon
other
in
stuff.
Fantasy, I mean, me and you didn't really play it, so we don't know. But like, I reckon in Warhammer Fantasy, the flail was better because that's when this model was made. Like, you know, someone has designed a flail here.
It seems like they're pushing flowers in this army, yet the flower is just... It's like hitting your opponent with a wet noodle.
Yeah.
It's not going to do much.
We've all been hit by plenty of wet noodles, and it's really not fun, and it's just awkward afterwards because everyone needs to have that chat. But as a Slaanesh player and collector, I want to give it the flail, but I honestly can't justify that amount of kinkiness because of the rules do not allow it, unfortunately.
No, they're not. And like all the other units in the army, you got the Mark of Chaos and picking Khorne's each, Noble, Slaanesh, or Undivided. And then we're going to the first of the Chaos Chariot's abilities, is Don't Spare the Lash. Very kinky for your Slaanesh.
Mm-hmm.
Once per battle, this unit can run and still charge later in the same turn. Very good for in-game plays, I would definitely say.
Bear in mind, if you're Slaanesh and this guy happens to be within an aura ability, now let's say it's from your general, he can re-roll that run and that charge. So that is quite far.
Yeah, figuring these are some of the fastest units in your army.
Yeah.
It could be worth, like I say, 120 points. I would like to see that. But if you can squeeze this in, to kind of be, you know, it's got 7 wounds, it's got 4, I say, it's got survivability.
Yeah.
But this once per battle, this unit can run and still charge. You can really push for late game play with this ability, or, you know, try and catch your opponent off guard and make them then have to deal with your chariot.
And also like sort of late game sort of like objective taken really ties into the next ability, which is Swift Death. So after this unit makes a charge move, you can pick one enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit and roll a number of dice equal to the charge roll for that charge move. For each 5+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound, which is like similar to like the Ogre ability. And that, because like if you look at this and you go like, let's say this is going to charge into a small enemy unit of 10 models on a back objective, right? And it's got 1 turn to kill all the enemy models because you only have 1 chariot, so you need to wipe them all out. Looking at its attacks, I'm like, I don't know if you can't guarantee it, but with that charge ability, I think he could wipe out 10 models. He's got a good chance of doing it.
Yeah, you have a good ace there, don't you?
Yeah. And it's with this chariot, you've already hit it on the head. What I was going to say, like what I plan to use, because I do want to test it out. It's just going to be on like, let's say the left flank. It's going to be, you know, far away from where the enemy's deployed most of the force, and it's just going to be there halfway up the board, maybe sitting on objective, or maybe just waiting for the enemy to either have to come towards it, or if the enemy don't, to try and sneak one of their back objectives, because the enemy is going to have to deal with this thing. Also, this thing, if you want it to be just like a area of the board denial or something, or just to slow down an enemy unit, it's got a big base, so if you just wanted to, you know, muck up the enemy's movement and stuff, you can use this to be in the way. You can use it as a shield. It has got, you can, you know, there's more with this unit than just looking at, it's like a lot of the stuff when I reviewed Beasts of Chaos, there's a lot more to it than just looking at its damage.
Yeah, and it's another option that fits into the battalion for the cavalry.
Yeah, because
which
like
then that stacks with the Swift Death. So on the charge, you're doing maybe a good fair share of mortal wounds, and like you say, to try and clear off. I think if the chariot's on its own, it has a good chance of doing so.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say like when I said the you know, if you're Celeste, for example, you get to reroll that, run in charge of your generals nearby. Because how I would be using this, I wouldn't bank on that, because this guy's going to be a bit of a lone wolf. But if you wanted to use it as a bit of a screen, or just to, let's say the enemy can't fly, and the enemy has got big blocks of models, just run this thing up halfway across the board, and the enemy's going to try and get past it, because the enemy doesn't really want to be stuck fighting it for a turn. There you go. But like you say, you put it in Runebringers, you roll amount of dice equal to your charge roll. For every 5 up, the enemy takes more wound, but with the Runebringers, roll other dice on a 2 up, an extra d3. So it is useful. And then keywords is Chaos Mortal, Slaves of Darkness, and Mark of Chaos, and then Chaos Chariots. So I do like it, and I do want to test it, but a really quick sort of question comes up, which makes me feel like it's, you know, it's not worth its points, which is, would you rather pay another 40 points and have 5 knights?
Yeah, I would.
Like, no question. Like, yeah. It's, or even 30 points left and you've got 5 Chaos Warriors. I do think it's got to place this model, but I think it has to fight really hard to defend its position in a list. And I don't mean fight in combat. I mean like it has to prove its point, really. You have to play.
Like you say, yeah, I agree. But like you say, without proper play testing, it takes the play testing to know whether it's going to fit in, or it's just at the moment not worth it.
Exactly. I'd say from what we can see here, it's not a straight up write-off. You know, it's not a straight up write-off. It's not a straight away, oh, no, wouldn't even consider taking this thing. It's like, it's going to have a bit of a tough fight, but I'd give it a go. Is my thoughts on it. So with that, we then move on to a bigger chariot, which is, like I say, if you don't convert and stuff, is by far the cooler looking one, and that is the Gorebeast Chariot for 150 points, this one. And it's a bit chunkier, isn't it, this one? It's the same kit, but you get this big, enormous, chaotic gorilla rhino type thing. So let's actually read the proper lore, shall we? So those chariots pulled by hulking Gorebeasts are gloriously brutal weapons. Only the strongest of wills can break a Gorebeast, and when in the thick of combat, these creatures rip their foes limb from limb with shocking ferocity. So
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, like, all I'm gonna say is I remember one time when Jamie used it, and that also happened to be the one and only time I played a Wanderer's Army, and that thing just ran through all the elves, didn't it?
Yeah, that was.
It charged
Before,
into
obviously,
Gladeguard,
way
which I'm
before
pretty sure
this
had a
book.
6-up save. It's just like, boom. But
It was pummeling the poor elves.
yeah, it does. Would you like to take us through this one then, Jamie?
So going over to its will, movement 9 inches, bravery 6, and 8 wounds. So comparing that to the other chariot, you're a bit slower. You got the same save. You got the same bravery. So you got 1 extra wound.
Yeah.
Which it is nice. You are losing a bit of speed, but you got more than make up for that in its ferocity. So a unit of Gorebeast Chariot has any number of models, each armed with one of the following weapon options: the Chaos Great Blade, Lash and Whip, or the Chaos Warflower, or the Lash and Whip. So you've got the same weapon options as the Chaos Chariot. The only difference in melee is the crushing fists from the Gorebeast itself, which are 1 inch range, 3 attacks, 3 to hit, 3 to wound, no rend, and 2 damage.
A bit better than the frantic hoof attack. So
Just a little bit better than the frantic hoof attack.
yeah, that's good. I like me and you we're thinking the same thing. Why not just give it mass one rend? Why not give it a little less of?
just give it a 150 points. Give it a little bit extra bit of cake. Come on.
You know, like, yeah, okay, like just like if it. There we go. If Marauder Horseman's a javelin can have -1 rend, why can this thing not?
These hulking fists.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, well, it's more of a blunt instrument, isn't it? It's not really an armor piercing one. It's got. I can see it's like armbands. It's got bloody blades on it. Like,
yes, I can confirm from my kit that they are fine to a point. When it is pummeling its opponents, they are getting ripped to shreds.
Exactly. So the exalted charioteer. So again, you need more than one unit in one model in this unit to get extra to hit. But you know, oh well, that's fine. Mark of Chaos, the same as before. You can give it corns each, Nurgle, Slanesh, or Undivided. And then again, into what really makes this thing different is its crash and charge. So after this unit makes a charge move, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit. On a 2+, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, which is nice. It's different to the normal Chaos Chariot, but essentially if you put this thing in the Ruinbringers battalion, which like I said, we'll do the battalions in another video, but like we've already mentioned, on the charge, roll a dice on a 2-up D3 mortal wounds, you just doubled that. So
yeah, I suppose if you compare 2 chariots for this, they both got damage charging abilities, but in a different way.
I prefer the Chaos Chariot. Funny enough, charging. I think you can do more damage on that because you're not even rolling a 2-up. It's straight up. That's why I want.
Well, the Chaos Chariot one is you're rolling as many dice as what your charge roll is.
Yeah.
So that could be your 3-inch charge. So you'd be rolling 3 dice, which then
it's still 1 more wound on average.
Yeah, with your dice, it's 0.
What's that?
And then I said on your dice, it's a 0.
Yeah.
You need to roll a 12 to do like 2 more wounds, if that. You might get 1 more wound off.
What do you mean?
Your dice rolls are so bad. You'll need to roll a 12-inch charge to have a chance of doing any mortal wounds with the Chaos Chariot.
Oh yeah, 100%. But if we're talking from like a normal person,
from a normal person, yeah, the Chaos Chariot is probably a little bit better.
Could I say like
in that ability, which I think unfortunately is a bit of a shame because you'd think the Gorebeast Chariot smashing into your lines would do devastating. I would like that D6 mortal wounds, which I think would then make it more reliable.
Would you? Okay, here's one. Would you rather it be 3+ to do the mortal wounds, but then it would be D6?
I probably would take that.
Yeah.
But in an ideal world, I'll still keep it as a 2+ and have D6. Because a
But-
D6 can still be a 1.
Well, there you go, isn't it? But it does get another bonus on the charge, which is explosive brutality. So if you make a charge move with this unit, and the unmodified charge roll was a 8+, add 1 to the hit and to wound rolls for attacks made by that unit's crushing fists until your next hero phase. It also goes on to say, though, if you've got a Sharpie, you can give it an extra -1. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So adding 1 to hit and to wounds is good. You need to charge at least 8+, but the nice thing about this, there's no caveat of you then actually need to physically move 8 inches, which I think like the not Gorebeast, but the Gore Grunters.
They're a Gore Grunters.
They had that was stupid. It was like you need to charge at 8, and it's like that's a pain. And then you actually need to physically move 8, and it's like why?
Yeah, but 3 attacks, 2s and 2s, no range but 2 damage.
It's good. Like
It's very
that,
nice.
2s and 2s, especially like let's say if you go, if you're Corn for example, then you're just re-rolling those 1s, aren't you, to hit? If you're
Yep.
range of that hero, and yeah,
And then you're, on the wounds, it doesn't really make a difference, right?
no, it's
But
I
again, with
suppose if the enemy made you -1 to
spells
wound, it would.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
like
but it
when
would
you
make
look at the
difference.
Manticore, and one of his attacks is always wounded on a 1 until it takes damage. The enemy can make you -1 to wound, so it has got a point. If you fight against Better Call, you'll know this. But you've also got keywords, which is Chaos Mortal, Slaves of Darkness, Mark of Chaos, and Gorebeast Chariots. And so that is the Gorebeast Chariot. So my overall thoughts are, it's 150 points. The normal Chaos Chariot is 120. If we're looking at testing them out, I would test out both. And how I've built my converted, I've done it in a way that I'm going to use that as both. I don't care. So I would try out both of them, but before even any practice with them, my thought is I'd probably more likely take a Chaos Chariot because it's 30 points less. So it gives you, it's a bit less risky if you take it for a punt.
Yeah, how I see it is,
It's
the
not as
Gorebeast
as-
Chariot is there to do damage, but for 150 points, it will not do as much damage as
a unit
5 Chaos Knights
for an extra 10
points.
Yeah.
Where the Chaos Chariot, I believe, is there for a different style of play, with its faster movement and its once per battle, the run charge.
It's like we said, isn't it, with the Chaos Chariot, when I said to you at the end, like, or would you rather pay an extra 40 points for the Knights? The Chaos Chariot and the Knights do, like you say, 2 very different things. The problem, I think, and like what you touched on as well, about the Gorebeast Chariot, is it's trying to do both. And
it's not really
going to work.
good at either.
I'd try it out, because I love, even like I say, I've done a conversion. I still love the model, and me and you, we love this. The whole idea of it. Who doesn't love a fucking massive armored chariot pulled by some demonic gorilla? So we would try it out, and you've got one as well.
I've got mine all built and painted, and I've used its old rules, and it done all right.
I imagine it's got better in the book as well, but it's probably gone up in points, like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And like I say, when we first started talking about the chariots, I can see the Chaos Chariot and the Gorebeast Chariot slowly coming down, maybe 10 points at a time over as the years roll on. The Gorebeast Chariot will not stay at 150 points forever. Like,
No, definitely not. It should definitely be coming down.
I reckon you can make the Chaos Chariot at least 110 points, maybe 100. Personally. But so with that, how are we doing for time, Jamie?
Where's the time? Yeah, we can get there.
Get
Well,
the track.
I can't even find them.
That's right, I'll get them up. So, the last unit we are going to review in this hell of a long video is going to be the Varanguard, because we built our way all the way up to the top until I realise, as soon as I've edited this video, I remember there's one unit we've forgotten. But until I have that horrid memory, here we go. So the last unit, and I really feel like, you know, they are the champions of what me and Jamie like to call at the start of this video, you know, your generic units. You know, they're not a hero, they're not a monster. They're humanoidish, shall we say. So the Varanguard, and they're 280 points from memory. So that's cool. They are also battle line in a host of the ever-chosen allegiance or sub-allegiance. If you go for Archaon's one, basically, they become battle line, and they don't need Archaon to be the general, as far as I'm aware. They're just battle line. So let's read a little bit of lore, and these guys will get a lore video at some point, because they really do deserve their time in the sun, because they are...
Yeah, some of the lore in this book is just amazing for them.
It's one of the coolest ones. So what the smidge we've got here is each of the Varanguard is a mighty champion who has passed the many tests set for them by Archaon and sworn themselves to his service. Riding atop their hulking steeds, these lords of darkness bring inescapable death to the ever-chosen's enemies. And they are... Like, when you see a Chaos Lord and Demonic Mount, I know it's a different unit, I know it's a different model, and it has different rules. But lore-wise, these are basically a Chaos Lord on Demonic Mount, if not a bit better. They are the best of the best.
Yeah, each one of the Varanguard are heroes in their own right in the lore.
And they're also, like, the good thing about them as well is, as when we look at, you know, Chaos and, like, the Path to Glory and the Eye of the Gods and everything like that, it does make the Chaos, you know, it makes, like, a lot of the followers of Chaos, you know, they're all in it for themselves, all stab each other in the back if it means they gain more power. When it comes to, like, the ever-chosen, the Varanguard, they are incredibly loyal to their boss, to Archaon. Like, they would, like, give their lives for him. Like, so it's an interesting example in Chaos where we see extreme loyalty, which is, don't get me wrong, absolutely out of fucking fear of Archaon, but it's still loyalty nonetheless, which I think is quite cool. Yeah, they are... If anything, the only problem with these models is they look too good. They're too nice. And also their price is a bit of a problem. And that's not their points. So yeah, they are... Me and you could... You know when I said me and you could talk about Chaos Knights for a while? We could talk about these times that by 2. So let's just get on with a review, shall we? So... Movement 10, a 3+ save, Bravery 9 and 5 wounds. What is not to like there, Jamie? Movement 12 would be nice, but you know, these things are very heavily armoured.
Yeah, we all love the 3+ save. I'd say my main gripe is the 5 wounds.
What do you want this to be?
Featuring... So they come in units of 3.
Yep.
So you're paying... So you're getting, for 280 points, you're only getting 15 wounds with a 3+ save. Which is great, you know. It obviously can be worse. They could have had a 4+ save with all their armour, but then they have a good 3+ save. I would like them to have at least 6 wounds and bring them up to that kind of bit more, you know, elite.
Well, it's like we say, didn't we? Like, they're meant to be like heroes, and a normal,
You know,
I think a normal Chaos.
They got the same. How I compare it, I'll play Core and the Juggernauts have 5 wounds. Yeah. And these are meant to be better than Juggernauts. So just 1 extra wound would be nice. But
agree.
But then going into their main things, it's still good. You can't argue, complain too much.
Let's just say if it was 4, I would have a bigger problem. 5 I'm okay with.
Yeah, 5's okay. It should be 6. That's just my personal opinion. That's even nearer there. Mm-hmm. So going into the unit, a unit of Varanguard has any number of models armed with one of the following weapons options: ensorcelled weapons, the Fell Spear, or the Demon Forged Blade. I kind of think we should go through the abilities and then go to the weapons, because each weapon has its kind of
its thing, doesn't it?
Its thing.
So you've got Mark of Chaos, so you can give these guys Khorne, Nurgle, and Ashes each are undivided, and there is no like champion of the unit because they're all champions essentially.
Yeah, hence like their kind of champion lore, isn't it?
I mean, there could be an exalted champion, but no, that'd be far too complicated apparently.
They're going the first of their abilities is the Demon Bound. If the unmodified hit roll for an attack made with a Demon Forge blade is a 6, that attack inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to any normal damage. So exactly like how the chosen weapons work. So we're going with Forged Blade. You've got the 1-inch range, 3 attacks, freeze and freeze, -1 rend, and E3 damage, which is very nice. I really like those stats.
Yeah.
With their the 6 to hit, like we said with the chosen, you can have your Sinestro to explode them. You can have Corn to make sure you get more chances of getting those 6s with the rerolls 1s, and then Corn the Nurgle even when you get down to wounding, you can add an extra damage on that D3. And -1 rend is great for them to have. Because I think before, they didn't actually have -1 rend on one of these weapons.
Yeah, I think it used to be worse, didn't it? Like before the battle tome.
Yeah, I have a feeling that one of their weapons, it might be the Demon Forge Blade, did not have rend. And the only benefit for it was it had the chance of more wound.
But I remember before, I think there used to be like Skull Reaper, Demon Bound weapons where like they could do more wounds themselves on a 1.
Yeah, that does sound familiar.
Yeah, Demon Bound are good. I did once upon a time like the Fell Spear the best as well, but we'll crack on with the rest of the abilities.
Yeah, we'll get to the Fell Spear.
So the next ability is favoured of the Everchosen, so add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by this unit, excluding those of its mounts if Archaon is in your army and is on the battlefield. So what I just like to say about this, of course you don't need Archaon to be able to take Varanguard and all that sort of thing, but I know for myself, if I'm ever going to take Varanguard, I have a painted Archaon, I'm going to be using Archaon. So I'll automatically be hitting on 2s at this point.
Yeah, which is just great. You know, you just need to have Archaon on the battlefield and you're hitting on 2s.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. And then you have the Impaling Charge, so add 1 to the wound rolls for attacks made with this unit's Fell Spear and improve the rend characteristics of this unit's Fell Spear by 1 if it made a charge move in the same turn. So the reason I like this is we'll get on to that in a second, really. It comes into its next ability. But essentially, it's you're now, like, for example, hitting on 2s if you've got Archaon, and wounded on 3s with -1 rend and 2 damage. It just made it a bit more reliable. And then
so the Fell Spear, like full stats, you got 2-inch range, like the Chaos Knights, 3 attacks, 3s to hit, 4s to wound, -1 rend, 2 damage. And like you say, with the Fell Impaling Charge, you're now wounding on 3s. Archaon on the field, you're hitting on 2s. So 3 attacks, 2s, 3s, -1, 2 damage. Oh no, you're improving the rend as well, so -2 and 2 damage.
And then,
very nice. But it's the same kind of thing that we say about the Knights. Both of us have the same thinking. We plan that we are going to get the charge.
and the funny thing is, we often play against each other, so only one person can get the charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll get it one day, don't you worry. I'll get it one day. But so going into the next ability, Relentless Killers. Once per battle in the combat phase, after this unit has fought in that phase for the first time, when it is your turn to pick a unit to fight, this unit can be picked to fight for a second time if it is within 3 inches of any enemy unit. So it doesn't mean that this unit gets to fight twice in a row. You have to wait, essentially, an activation. But that's why I liked giving them the spears, because you're getting that charge bonus twice, if you like. If you wanted to pick. I do have a different favourite weapon now, which we'll get to in a moment. But that's why originally, and I think pre-book, I liked the spears. And you've also got... What were you going to say?
I was saying, it's just a great ability. Being able to pilot. It makes your opponent either pick to fight somewhere else or just to fight your Varanguard because you can activate them again.
Yeah, exactly. And if let's say you even have a unit of 3 Vanguard doing its own thing, going around the flanks, taking away a few things here and there, trying to clear some objectives on their own, not in the main thick of the fight. And you go for, I don't know if they're able to take down that enemy unit in this turn to clear that objective, but I've still got this off my sleeve. Activate the Relentless Killers, and then they'll get it done that turn, hopefully. So it's
Yeah,
pretty good.
and it pairs well with that Fight Last spell as well in the Stone's Darkness Arsenal.
It really
if
does.
you want to guarantee that they take no damage in return, you put that on someone, you attack them with the Varanguard, that unit can't be activated until at the end. You're going to activate the Varanguard before that unit. So that's to doubly make sure you don't lose the Varanguard. Because if you lose the Varanguard,
you're going to be sorry.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah, it's going to really hurt. At least they got good bravery, so you're not going to lose it that way as often. But then you've got the Warp Steel Shield, so each time this unit is affected by a spell or endless spell, you can roll a dice. If you do so, on a 5-up, ignore the effects of that spell or endless spell on this unit. So you can choose to roll the dice, so you don't have to. It's a positive effect. So it's different than the normal mortal wounding. Ignore shields, which overall I would prefer for the Varanguard. If anything, I'd like them to have a 4-up mortal wound save, because they are. Have you seen the size of their bloody shields? Like, they are that cool. But spells are going to be one of those things where, I don't know, 3 out of 5 times you're going to wish they had the mortal wound save, but those 2 out of 5 times you're going to be really glad they've got that spell save, because they just ignored a very debuffing effect or something. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts.
Okay. At 280 points, can we be greedy and have both?
Yeah, exactly. Or like have the 5-up mortal wound save and then a 6-up save against spells. But what this does mean is that you could put these guys in the Zeech army, and then you get your reroll save rolls of 1s, and then you're rerolling 1s and saving on 3s. But that ignoring spells and a 5-up is kind of
redundant, because they already have it.
Yeah, actually, to be fair, because it's not like a mortal wound save, they might get both, but you shouldn't need both. If your dice are that bad, then you're going to lose the game. I'm sorry, it's just going to happen.
And I suppose the last two things to go over, you got the last 2 attacks that they have. So they have the ensorcel weapons, which is 1 inch, 6 attacks, 3s and 3s minus 1 damage.
This is. I just want to say, this is my favourite weapon, and I usually go for low attacks, high damage. So I want to explain why I like this one. So if you're going to host the Everchosen, great. If you're not going to host the Everchosen, don't listen. Go host the Everchosen. You pick the whatever circle it is that gives you +1 damage on the charge. So now you've got 6 attacks on the charge that do 2 damage, right?
Yep.
And then if you go Nurgle, if you get 6s to hit, 6s to wound, that's obviously goes from 2 to 3 damage. But what I do is I go Khorne. So I've got 6 attacks from each of these. So in a unit of 3, that's 18 attacks. 3s and 3s normally, right? You've gone Khorne and you host the Everchosen, and Archaon's bubble is 18 inches wholly within his massive base. So you're going to get that benefit as well, more than likely. So that means that you've got, like I say, a unit of 3, so 18 attacks, 3s to hit normally, but because Archaon's there, 2s to hit, rerolling 1s, wounding on 2s because of the Khorne ability, and because of Archaon's host the Everchosen, you can pick an enemy unit once per turn to get reroll wound rolls against. So you're rerolling wound rolls if you happen to be fighting that unit you've picked. So that's 18 attacks from 3 of them. Hit on 2s, rerolling 1s. Wounded on 2s, rerolling 1s. -1 rend, 2 damage on the charge. And then you do the Relentless Killer's ability, so you get to attack twice.
Yeah, that is going to pummel pretty much anything.
That is that is so, like, how normally me and you look at like high damage ones, it's just like even 3 of these 18 attacks with that, and they're all probably going to go through with those hit into wound. And what I would say,
That's going to be a lot of saves.
That's a lot of saves. And let's say you go host the Everchosen, right? But let's say there's a lot going on the battlefield, so you're not attacking the thing that Archaon's put his ability on to get the rerolls to wound. You've still got all of that, but all it means is you're wounded on 2s and you're just not rerolling the 1s to wound. So if these guys need to go off and do something by themselves, they're getting like probably all the other buffs. Because I really cannot stress how big Archaon's bubble is here.
Yeah, he is on a massive base.
Yeah, so, do you think that enscrolled weapon idea of it has that made you think, or are you still thinking the Demon Forge blades are best? What are your thoughts? Because I'm sold as soon as I've really thought of the enscrolled weapon thing.
Yeah, I think if you're running like a full Ever Chosen army, I think you got to at least have 1 unit with that. Featuring you're only pretty much going to have like 3 units.
Yeah.
But it's like 18 attacks. You can kill. That is like for me the kind of your go-to to try and kill off a horde.
Yeah. And this is 280 points. That's a. And you could say, well, Marauders could maybe do. I don't give a shit. This is a lot cooler.
No one can say that Marauders look any cooler than Varanguard.
I'd rather paint 3 Varanguard than a block of Marauders, and that to be fair, is honestly saying quite a lot. And to be honest, the way I've only got like 1 Varanguard like built and like converted and painted and stuff in my Sinesh scheme, and I use it as a Chaos Lord and Demonic Mount because, like we said, that's basically what they are. But I have got 2 on sprue to do, and I'm tempted to build them, so I could use them with Chaos Lord and Demonic Mount, but just so I got a unit of 3 of these guys. Because when I was looking at building, I was thinking if I go host the Ever Chosen, right, and let's say I've got Archaon and I've got a unit of Varanguard, but at the end of the day, to survive in this world, you need to pay excess money for bills and food and everything else. I only have so much money I can spend on Varanguard, i.e., I only have 1 unit of 3 Varanguard. Is it still worth going to host the Ever Chosen if you're not taking all the Varanguard? And I honestly think, yeah, as long as you've got 1 unit benefiting from the like the Circles of the Varanspire, whatever it was called when we reviewed that in the last video, it's still good. You're still not taking Battle Shock. You're still getting that rerolls of 1s to wound and to hit from Archaon. And like we said, 1 unit of Varanguard can do all that damage.
Yeah, you can definitely use them as your elite kind of second damage output next to Archaon.
Yeah.
And then fill in the other thing with objective holding tanks or like horde, big horde of Marauders or
Chaos Warriors or
something to kind of sit back on your objective or to move up and outnumber your opponent or be kind of swift. And like I say, Marauder Horsemen would be very good.
Yeah,
and then filling up with like little heroes if you can fit them in. I wouldn't go any big heroes at all.
No, like let's be clear. Let's say you take Archaon and a unit of these. Right, okay, so you're 1,800 points in. That is point of recording. They're the points. Pretty sure Archaon's 800 points. So that is 1,080 points in, right?
Yeah, so you got 920 to fill.
Yeah, you still need to put 2 more
2
battle
line.
in. And you can see, and if you go like, normally in this situation, you're going to go, right, I want a Chaos Lord on foot to make Archaon attack twice.
110 points.
That's 110 points. What I would say though is because I've actually been looking at some list building here because ever since the enscrolled weapons jumps out, I was like, I want to do a host of the Ever Chosen army. I want to see if I can do it at 1 unit of Varanguard. Like, is it possible? And then one of the big things you look at putting in with Archaon, when I looked at it anyway, was like, I need a Chaos Sorcerer Lord on foot, clearly, because I want Archaon to get demonic power to be able to get all those rerolls. To be honest, if he's only his own army, he's hitting on 2s with a lot of his weapons. He's rerolling 1s if he's Khorne. And then he's wounded on 2s with a lot of his weapons because he's Khorne. And then he's re-rolling any failed wound rolls from his host the Ever Chosen ability. So really, you don't need the Chaos Lord, Chaos Sorcerer Lord on foot. So that saves you 110 points. Obviously you can put that on other units, but again, if the Varanguard unit is your other beat stick in your army, it doesn't really need that either. So you don't. It's like one of the armies, one of the only sub-allegiances in Slaves of Darkness where you do not feel obliged to take the Chaos Sorcerer Lord on foot. Of course, you will lose the reroll save roll ability, but is that really always worth 110 points? Especially when you're really tight on points. It's an interesting conversation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And
Definitely got plenty going on.
Yeah.
Varanguard are, although expensive in points and in real terms, are very solid since the new book.
Is that because, like you say, very expensive in real money and in the game as well. But I think in the game they're like 360 when they first came out, something in points. But now you can do something with them. They can be good. Before it was like if anyone ever really takes Vanguard, it's because they're being cool.
Yeah, and when the Stormcast got their new release of Dracos, the Dracos just pissed all over Varanguard.
Oh, let's move on to the last attack, shall we? Which is the worst thing about Varanguard. Tearing Fangs, right. This is the coolest demonic mount you've seen. And before you go, a Manticore, it's got... Right, the coolest thing that's a horse. And before someone says, oh, Chaos mount is a horse, you know what I mean. A Chaos Knight horse, right? Do you want to take us through the attacks? Because I just don't think I can do it, Jamie.
It's got this Tearing Fangs of 1 inch, 3 attacks, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, no rend, 1 damage.
Why does it hit on
Just...
Does it benefit from Archaon? And once a hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by this unit, excluding those by it specifically states the mount cannot get it.
It's just a tiny bit better than the little Marauder horses. Or 4s and 4s.
Well, think about it. So in a unit of Marauders, so what? A unit of Marauder Horsemen, you get 5, right? So that would be 15. No, that 2 per it, right? So that's 10 attacks. And you get 9 attacks from this unit. So really, the Marauders is probably maybe better. I can't remember what it wounds on, to be fair. But like...
Yeah, they're 4s and 4s.
Okay, there we it's about the same. But I mean, why... Okay, obviously like a 2 damage weapon on the bloody horse would be great. But, we can't expect that really, can we? But why not just make it freeze and freeze? Straight away. Much better. Or rend. What does the Dracov do? If you get a 6 to wound, is it if you get a 6 to wound, it's D6?
If you get a 6 to wound, it's -3 rend on the claws.
Was there an artifact or something that made you do D3 damage? There's a mount trait, isn't there?
I know it was D6 damage, wasn't it?
Yeah, and there was
an artifact if you gave.
Yeah.
If you gave the leader.
I remember your Victor days. So Jamie had a Lord Celestin on Dracov that was named Victor after Underworld's vampire. And that was a bloody pain because you couldn't kill it because it had a stupid save. And it just demolished everything. It was a massive pain.
Even Varanguard.
Even Varanguard. I don't think... I never would have taken Varanguard against you.
I think he took Chaos against me one time.
Yeah. And I was like, maybe if I... you've got all your Dracovs and your Stormcast army. I'm going to unleash the Chaos variety of Dracovs, i.e. Varanguard. And it's like, these things are just like... They're not the same.
That was back then. But now
they are.
You got a bit more going on now.
18 attacks, 2 damage each. Bro, like how... 2 damage each, and basically, out of 18 attacks, you'll be unlucky if not all of those go through to save rolls.
Yeah, it's very solid, isn't it?
That's what happens if you put 6 in a unit. I would say that with a 1 inch range on their weapons, 6 is far too many in a unit. But what if you did do 6 in a unit?
If you can get it off.
30, what's that? 36 attacks? She don't. And obviously, Varanguard, their movement 10. They're not the fastest moving thing in the army. They can't fly over screens. All the other reasons people will say it's not as good as you say it is. But in the 1 in 10 games where you get it off, that'd be great.
You're going to be smiling from ear to ear, rolling those dice.
Can you imagine? And don't get me wrong, it'll probably be against like 10 Crypt Ghouls or something. But those 10 Crypt Ghouls they will wish they were undead. Do you know what I mean?
They will just be powder at the end of it.
Yeah,
it's a mist.
Just nothing. And that is really, when I was mentioning I think I'm really liking the Khorne aura ability, and bear in mind that I'm painting everything and theming everything Smash on my army. That hurts me to say that, but
Yeah,
I'm like,
you leave corn to me.
yeah, no, it's okay because the Khorne stuff. It's the only way I've started thinking about it is when I started thinking about taking Archaon and the Varanguard, because then I was like, then you're just like not missing anything. I was like, well, you still fail ones and to hit and to wound. Yes, but you're re-rolling those. It's like great. It's just easy, like, because I looked at Archaon's War Scroll and I thought he's quite good, but is he really worth his points? And it's like, as soon as you give him Khorne and he's hitting on twos.
Oh, he's loving it.
No,
he's
sorry,
winning
not
on
hitting on
twos.
twos, re-rolling the ones to hit. And
winning on twos.
Yeah, and re-rolling the wound rolls. He's fucking great. Like, it sounds stupid because this book's been out for nearly a year and I never really thought about it like that, but since I've taken my head out of the Slaanesh idea and and the easy to go to Nurgle stuff and think about Khorne, it's like you really can do quite good stuff. And I think that really ties into, as we've came towards the end of the video now and doing a bit of a summary. Obviously we've still got more Slaves of Darkness units to review, but we've reviewed the main bulk of the book now in 2-3 hour video. I'm guessing what this is. Something you might agree with me here, Jamie, is that these War Scrolls, apart from the Marauders, which are just like an easy go-to for how good their War Scroll is, a lot of these units are, I haven't really read them and go, "Phew, bloody hell, that's really good value for their points." Like, bloody hell, that's a steal. And I think the reason behind that is because these units, sometimes, if you read the War Scrolls, they can look a little bit bland. Let's just say, a little bit standard. And that's because when Games Workshop was come up with this, they've got to remember for you to factor in all the Aura of Chaos abilities. How good a War Scroll becomes as soon as it's dedicated to Khorne or Nurgle or Slaanesh or Tzeentch or Undivided. It just makes it that a War Scroll that's all right. Suddenly makes it go like whoomp, puts up that power level. Is that something you agree with?
I think that was like one of the best changes they'd done for the book was the aura abilities. Like you say, it's the same for heroes, which we'll get onto one other time. But like even just like the basic heroes benefit from all the abilities, and then it gives you a point of having some of those cheap heroes to give off that ability.
And what exactly? It's like an exalted hero on foot, which is like the cheapest hero you can get with an aura ability in the Slaves of Darkness. I think he's 90 points. That's just an aura, And what I would say as well with these auras, and I think when we've been reviewing everything, we've been a lot of the time we're just presuming they're going to get the aura. They're going to be in range. They'll get it, and that quite honestly, that's because they will be. As long as you're clever with your movement, and this is an army that you need to keep, a tape measure close to your chest, essentially, of trying to make sure everything is wholly within 12 and everything else. But as long as you go with something that makes your general aura of 18, it's really plausible. The hardest thing then will just be keeping your general alive. And like we said, the bonus of Archaon, he's a hard bastard to take down.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
and that's like the key of the army.
And like
just playing well with your auras.
That's it. Your auras are huge in this army. It's not like
especially like you say, like your general. Your general is giving off that bonus ability. So his deployment, his movement is very key, and sometimes mitigating damage is probably like the best artifacts in which you can go for, unless you can extend the aura ability.
Yeah, like
because his survival
is paramount.
Is paramount in the army. But obviously you can pick a new one.
You can, and that's
they may not be positioned in where you want.
That's an incredible important thing, and to be honest, like I think we've already mentioned this maybe somewhere in this video, but I think it was in the last one. That's an incredibly important thing to mention, Jamie, because I think in 95% in all the games I've ever had in Age of Sigmar up until now, when my general died, I don't even think about. I don't elect any other hero to be my general. It just doesn't even come across my mind. but really you should. And in this army, it's vital. Because let's say you're what we've been talking about. If you are Khorne, if you don't elect someone else to replace your general once he's dead, you're not getting +1 to wound anymore. Or if you're, is it Nurgle? Is it the -1 to hit from shooting, or is it the +1 damage? Which you get if you're the general?
I think it's the +1 damage.
Okay, let's say, or either, whatever it is, you're not getting that anymore. You know, like a very good one. Or Sinesh, you're not re-rolling those run and charge rolls, which can be vital in the final turns. So it's incredibly important to remember that rule. And obviously you've got things like Ravengers and stuff where you pick different generals at different times. But so we talk about, when we're reviewing these units, presuming you're going to get these extra abilities. But that's because as long as you play your movement right, you will do, really. Yeah, it's great. So with that, guys, that is going to be the end of the Slaves of Darkness unit review. Of course, we'll be reviewing, like, I think the next couple of videos will be the Slaves of Darkness heroes, which feels like there's more of those than there are units. Then we have the Slaves of Darkness monsters / monstrous creatures. So I have things like your Furies in and stuff, and then actual monsters like Slaughter Brutes and stuff. We'll review then, and then there'll be battalions and stuff like that to review at a later date. But I want to say thank you very much for coming on to the channel again, Jamie, in this video and sharing your insight. It's been great talking with you and bouncing off some ideas, because I'm sure there would have been things that I would have forgotten about if you didn't come on. So thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, always a pleasure to come on and talk Warhammer with you.
Thank you very much.
Especially in these times when we can't game.
Exactly. I think it's something what me and Jamie were talking about, like off camera, if you will. It's because like me and Jamie often, play games and stuff against each other, but since COVID, very little. I think even where we're here in England, and when restrictions were lifted a little bit in the summer, we had a couple of games, but because me and Jamie, we're both not idiots. We know the virus, it's still there. It's not just because it's the summer doesn't mean it's disappeared. We played it a bit safe, didn't we?
Yeah.
So it is. I think it's important for people to stay connected, even if you can't game with each other. Just talking about rules. We're talking about, unless you guys are watching it. Don't get me wrong. If you guys are watching this in about 2 years from now, and you bloody enjoy your freedom, but at this moment in time, me and Jamie, we can't game, but we're still just as passionately, maybe a bit more because of how hyped we are to game again, talking about reviewing units we probably will not play for about 6 months. But it's still, but you need to, really, because you need to get away from this world sometimes. And it's been absolutely great to have you on, and we've reviewed some great units. I'm even excited that we reviewed the Cultists, because I know a lot of people just bypass the Cultists, but I think it's important to at least mention them, because there are some that we went over that had some use, and then you have more elite things like the Chosen and the Knights and the Varanguard, and I think we shed light on all the
on many styles of playing it, which
exactly.
is on all different types of aspects on how you as a gamer would like to play.
That's it. We're not one of these channels where just goes, I don't know, Chaos Knights, no good in combat. Why are we talking about them? So I think we've done well, and I think still trying to do the best by making this the most in-depth review for an army series, as this video, like I say, probably about 3 hours, and it's just reviewing a slight portion of the book. So we will continue giving a in-depth / rambling about a lot of shit in our next videos. But yeah, so with that, Jamie, again, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you to everyone watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please smash that like button, as it really does help my channel, and basically lets YouTube know that this is a good video to hopefully show other people, so we can all gain from information here. So you can, like I say, smash that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do that as well. It's absolutely free for you guys to do so. And the other thing as well is, please comment if you've got any questions about Slaves of Darkness. I will do my best to try and help you down below in the comments. But also, if there's anything you've agreed with me and Jamie, and alternatively, if there's anything you disagreed with me and Jamie, it'd be great to hear that down below, as we are all here to learn. Me and Jamie aren't, well, Jamie can say what he wants, but I'm not an expert player of the game. I like the game, and I'm not terrible at it, but I'm not a tournament winner or something like that. So if you've got some advice, it's always great to learn some stuff. And the other thing I'd just like to say is a massive shout out to my patrons as well, who do a enormous job to help support this channel, and if it isn't for them I wouldn't be able to produce these videos or continue the channel. So thank you very much to those patrons. You will see a list of their name at the start and at the end of the video. Massive shout out to them. And if you'd like to support me on Patreon, there will be a link to it at the description down below. If you donate anything, even just $1 a month, it really does help towards keeping the channel going and trying to make these videos to help people. So with all of that, I'm going to again thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you for joining me, Jamie. Remember guys, until next time, stay safe, keep your hands clean, wear a mask, and of course remember, Nagash is all, and all is one in Nagash.